that's the wrong one.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Oh, yeah. Honey, baby. Then we got a religious person in the chat room who is saying, what the heck is this? I thought this was football talk, not some sex show.
I mean, where have they been the last 4 years? Or 3.5. We've been doing this 3.5 years now, right?
Yeah, I guess not everybody knows about our show.
The first show, remember the first fucking show, the dude was mad. Oh, now we're getting a feedback here. But the first show that we had, if I could get this to stop echoing, there it is. Somebody complained on YouTube about us telling sex stories, if you recall.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He said, what the hell are you guys doing? I came in here for football, and I'm hearing about Dan Aguirre's sex life.
And Aldo Gondias. It wasn't just me. That was an episode. I forget what you said, but you gave us a good tidbit, too.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, somebody was really upset on the first episode, and we haven't even said anything tonight, and they're upset.
You know, we're going to upset hundreds more, maybe thousands more by the time we get off the air.
Maybe Steve and me will be upset again this week too for unforeseen reasons.
Yeah, and exactly. My friend, I tuned into your show over at the Bears Country Productions yesterday, and I actually got there at the beginning, and you were fucking really pissed off, and you got angrier and angrier with the technical difficulties that were going on. You're like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I know the fucking Bears can't hear me.
Did you listen to the show though? Like beyond like
just the first 15 minutes.
Oh, I mentioned you a little bit. No, I was teasing our show tonight. But yeah, the show got better. Obviously, Dan was setting up at a different location and things happened, you know. But I felt a little bit better as the show progressed because it was a little cathartic to vent some of this. But I was so mad, and I apologize that Jay Bonds called me after the game. I guess we were both feeling the same amount of like, you know, being crestfallen, but I didn't even take his call, and I felt like such a dick. I was like, I apologize. Like, I'm not ready to talk about this. I didn't think I was ready to talk about it last night either, but I got through it. So I'm here now. I think I'm ready to talk about it now.
Well, I'm glad you are, because we have a lot to talk about, not only just the game, but what happened during the season and what's going to happen in 2024. We try to pack all of that in. Our media mashup is coming up in about a half hour. Johnny Santucci should be here in about an hour to do his Bears State of Affairs, and then we'll always, as we always do, we'll close the show with just some bullshit talk, pop culture, and find out if Dan's sex life has been rejuvenated or anything like that.
No. Right now we're talking football. We don't want to offend the masses now.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So clearly you were incredibly pissed off with the Bears' performance at Lambeau Field. What was worse, the feeling during and after game 1 against the Packers, or the feeling game 17?
That is such an excellent question. Selfishly, I will point out that Jay and myself were at the opening game, so being there feels all the more worse, because you're walking out of Soldier Field, you got the Packers fans mocking you in Chicago, no less, and then we're stuck in traffic and all of that. It's hot still, and you're internally, like, emotionally hot. It's physically hot. And it takes forever to get out of there. So in that aspect, okay, it's easy to say week 1, but I don't know, because Sunday I really bought in, Aldo. I really thought, man, all this stuff with Eberflus and getting the defense, all these statistics, number 1 against the run, number 1 with interceptions. And I was like, the dude's been staying all night, and he turned the season around. And you know what? We just barely missed the playoffs, and we're going to eliminate our rival. This is a statement game for the fucking franchise, for everything, for Justin, for Eberflus, for the administration. This was going to be it. And then they come out with this impotent fucking game plan that didn't work in game 1. It's like, look, we're so afraid that we might get burned deep that we're not going to bring any pressure. There will be no blitzing. There will be no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. And then on offense, we're like, let's run the ball 7 or 8 straight times. Let's not take any shots deep. Let's just try to keep it close. They played, to use the cliche, to not win. They played to try to not lose. They were not aggressive on either side of the ball. Where was Sweat? OB's always yelling, why do we got this fucking guy? There's somebody who's asking me yelling earlier, so I did it. Yeah, the $100 million man. I can't even do the accent now, or the thing. But the point being, where was he? Where was the fucking blitz? Where was anything? Like, I'm not sold, Aldo, that Jordan Love is so good. If you put in who's like the guy we would think was like, Andy Dalton, for example. If you put Andy Dalton in there and his uniform looks like he's taking the team picture, there's no grass stains, there's no dirt, he looks flawless and he's allowed to stand there, of course you're going to be beaten. How do you know how that guy's going to respond if he takes some of the shots that Justin's taking? Oh, by the way, another illegal hit that they didn't call. But I mean, if your quarterback is getting hit every 3 seconds, and just every time he goes back to pass is getting his dick knocked in the dirt, and the other guy's allowed to stand there, you're not even trying to bring pressure. That's why you lost. That's why you lost. As much as we can blame it on Getsy's play calling or Fields or whoever else on offense, the fucking defense let us down that day. And I don't give a fuck what anybody said. They go, it was only 17 points. That's because Green Bay was fucking around and allowed themselves to not get out of bounds. They missed a field goal. That game was there for the taking. And the Bears just didn't want to try to win. And for that alone, they should all be fired. If Justin's going down and is getting traded now, well, Flus and fucking Getsy should be shown the door too. My rant's over. I'm sorry.
That was a beauty. That was a beauty. Let me play devil's advocate a little
Please
bit.
do.
So how many points should the offense score on average? Because you're saying, the Packers offense scored 17 points. So are you saying that if the Bears score 17 points, they should be winning games?
Well, not to avoid your question, but I'm just going to answer it a different way. The Packers should have had more points. It was their own ineptitude. They should have had 27. They missed a short field goal, and then they didn't get out of bounds. At the very least, they should have had 23. So the Bears got lucky and was unable to even take advantage of that. And if Jalen Johnson is so important to the defense that you can't even send a fucking blitz. I saw like 1 or 2 blitzes the whole day. but I'm not saying I'm watching the all 22 and counting. I'm just saying, but if he's that important, you can't be aggressive at all. You better not let him get out of the building. You better sign him today before the show's over. We should be able to break news if he's that important. And I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, it just, fuck. Just sitting in some zone. Did you see Brisker talked about it? And even he was upset, saying that they didn't like the fucking scheme they were being told to play.
No, I didn't see that.
I read it on Twitter, or X. I guess it was on his interview with David Haw and what's his name? Mulligan Haw. I hate that guy's Mike Mulligan.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. I would have included it in the media mashup. So everyone was upset with the defensive play calling. And Bellissimo says that historically it takes 24 points for an average win. But I guess what I want to learn from you is, did you walk away then feeling Justin Fields is still my quarterback? And do you feel that he's a better quarterback than Jordan Love?
Okay, before I quantify, I got to quantify your question here. Are you asking me what I think or what I think that the Bears think?
What you think, my man.
What I think, again, if this were me, and I know it's going to piss some people off in the chat room, if it were me, if I had the old GM cap on here, I would make the trade, and we clearly need a center. We clearly need a safety. You saw Eddie Jackson's deplorable effort again. This guy's got to go. We need so many things. We need another wide receiver. Yes, I'm keeping Justin Fields for year number 4 and going ahead and extending him for year 5 and getting draft picks, a plethora of picks. That's what I would do. Justin, for the most part, played well on Sunday. He only had 16 attempts. That's not his fault when every time he goes back to pass, there's 3 linemen. And let me give props to Tevin Jenkins for apologizing to us as Bear fans for having the worst game of his career at the worst time. Big ups to you, big man, for just having the wherewithal to admit that. It makes me like you even more. But, he's struggling. Braxton Jones is struggling. The center's struggling. And then you got Whitehair suddenly at right guard. Holy fuck. Every time Justin goes back to pass, he's getting hit. He got sacked 5-6 times. You're running the ball over and over and over. I can't blame this on Justin. I'm not saying it's everybody else's fault. But literally, he only had 16 attempts. That's not his fault in that aspect. So the short answer is I would keep Justin. I don't think they're going to. And I think even he knows that because I'm sure you included some of his presser, his farewell, if you will, to everybody. It sounded like a dude that knew he was out of this motherfucker. To me.
Yeah.
Is he better than Jordan Love? I don't know. Jordan Love he had a great season. I'll give him all the I still don't think he's the next Rodgers or Favre. I mean, Mike McCarthy's not going to fuck around with him Saturday or Sunday. He's going to get hit. And then what's he going to do? I mean, if you allow him to stand up there clean for 2 straight games without getting any pressure, not even attempting to get any pressure, yeah, of course that's what's going to happen. That's the same dude that struggled to beat the Panthers a couple weeks ago. And had to have a call that went their way when Carolina spiked the ball with less than a second left. There was still time on the clock. And the official said no and gave the Packers the win. They would have gone to overtime. So I don't know. We all are supposed to praise him, powder his balls, suck his fucking dick and say how great he is. Okay. Jordan Love had a great season. I hope you get blown out Sunday as a bitter fucking bastard fan I am. But is he better than Fields? Maybe. Who knows? Who gives a shit? We still could have beaten them on Sunday, but the coaches on both sides of the ball, their game plan was so inept, it precluded our players from getting a victory.
Jordan is asking you not to hate on Jordan Love.
Oh, God.
I knew that was going to make you mad.
I'm sure Jordan is also loving the Aaron Rodgers. He's like, oh, he really didn't say that about Jimmy Kimmel. I love the Packers. I love the Packers.
Bellissimo is warding off Justin Fields haters by putting this on Fields, meaning the game against the Packers is dense. The offense called was utter dog shit. Getsy was out coached all day, and the O-line had a bad day also. Clearly, the O-line came into the game hurt. The right guard left early, and Tevin Jenkins, as you said, had his worst day of as a Bear, probably.
And he was cognizant of that. I say that again. He deserves so much credit for saying that. Sure.
The center, Dan Feeney, proves that what might have been an even worse trade than the one for Claypool. That guy is bad. I guess just sitting around all season didn't help him be prepared for any of the action he's had over the last.
I think he did better on Sunday than Whitehair would have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. The Packers are superior to the Bears. Are you fucking happy? What do you want me to do? I'm not going to switch teams like you do. Jesus.
Jesus. I'd like to see a cage match with Dan Aguirre and Jordan Silver.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? I try to be respectful. What the fuck does he want from us? Yeah, you're right. Green Bay's better. I hope you're fucking happy. Why don't you go to a Packers podcast then?
He Jordan wants us all to be like Switzerland, where we care about everybody and don't want to get into any wars. That's what
I feel that way politically if we're talking about the country to a degree. I'm not like some war hawk here, but I'm also not going to just be like, well, I'm so happy you're right. Okay, I said Matt LaFleur was a little boy and he was going to be lost without Aaron Rodgers, and that turned out to be wrong. I said it. He's 10-0 against us. There, I'm giving the little boy from the Wizard of Oz credit, the Munchkin. He's 10-0 against the Bears, and I say that with envy, fucking envy. But I admit it. What else am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to denounce the Bears now, like to satiate his ego?
Mm-hmm. Barrelissimo, I think this is directed at Jordan Silvera.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Thank you, George.
I knew that this show was going to be heated because this is what the Bears do to us. You know, I am so glad I didn't have to drive anywhere yesterday, because Mondays after a Bears loss like the one we had Sunday, 50% of the drivers on the road are just angry. And that's during normal times. But after a Bears loss, it's 75% of all the drivers. And that poor 25% who are trying to drive responsibly are victims to all these people cutting in front of us, being on our tail, honking their horn for no reason. That is so
to me, Aldo, the thing that makes it even worse, and again, this is just my opinion, I'm not saying that anyone has to agree with me. Mm-hmm. To me, like if you told me that the Eberflus came out on Sunday and they were aggressive and they were trying to play the same style of defense they have the second half of the season, and Jordan Love just beat them. He beat the blitz. And maybe, a couple breakdowns in the secondary because they were too aggressive. I can live with that because you're trying to win the game. I sound like Herman Edwards right now, but you're trying to win the game. If you came out aggressive and they just beat you, I could take that. If they said, okay, we're down and we need to throw the ball the second half, and let's say Velus Jones was dropping passes or 13 was dropping passes, or maybe Fields was getting picked off. But if we were trying, and they were just better, then I could live with that. The fact we were so afraid to try. You know what I mean? We weren't aggressive on either side of the ball, and it just feels like if we had done that, we could have won the game. That's what makes it even worse. Even if it is 17-9, it might as well have been 50-7 with the lack of just... God, I'm being repetitive, but they didn't even try to win the game, and that makes it so much worse. Like, give us what you did against the Falcons.
Right.
And if they beat the blitz, then so be it. But at least you gave us your best. The both games against Green Bay, they just sat back in that fucking zone, not trying. And that makes me want to go and hit Eberflus in the face and have all of his staff members just beat the dog shit out of me, like 8 people at once, and throw me out on the cement. Because that's how the coaching took this game from us. The scheme was dreadful, and my fucking rant's over. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love it, and everybody in the chat room loves it. So keep it coming. And there's some that don't agree with you, but
that's okay. Yeah, their opinion is just as valid as mine, and I say that with no sarcasm whatsoever.
Exactly. Here's one of the things that I was disappointed about on Sunday, and I don't blame this entirely on Justin Fields. In fact, I ran a poll during the games saying I don't think that this loss is on Justin Fields. I think that there are other issues with this team, and the Packers are highlighting them. They know our plays. They know our schemes. They have superior people in the trenches blocking for the quarterback and rushing after the quarterback than the Chicago Bears do. That's the biggest problem right now between the Bears and the Packers. It's not necessarily the quarterback, but I was really disheartened to see that Jordan Love completed passes to a bunch of guys who are nowhere, who I thought that the Bears had a better wide receiving core than them. But no, Jaden Reed, who's a good player. He had 112 yards and he left the game at a certain point. Bo Melton, he hadn't played all year, 5 catches, 62 yards. The Tavian Wicks, this is, you talk about revenge games. The Tavian Wicks came in twice to Hallis Hall to be interviewed during the drafting scouting process. And it was almost a certainty that the Bears were going to target him in day 3. They let him go. And they didn't select him, and he was picked up by the Bears. And every time he caught a pass, it was like he was saying, you guys fucked up. Tucker Kraft, the rookie backup tight end, 3 passes. Aaron Jones, 5 passes. Luke Musgrave, who's going to be a really top tight end in this league, caught a pass. So what I'm trying to say is, I keep saying Justin Fields needs one more weapons. Well, fucking Justin Love didn't have great weapons. Christian Watson was hurt. Lots of rookie players and second-year players. And so I just wish.
When you have all day to throw, though, when you're so comfortable,
you're absolutely
you're
right.
just playing catch. You're a father and son out there throwing the ball, just slinging it around. You're right, though. You're right. He did play well. I can't take that away from him. I was never one of these guys that was like, oh, let's mock him. I was like, let's not say shit about him because I don't want to jinx us. But okay, so what? I still think if he's a good quarterback, then fine. That doesn't mean anything. The Bears lost this game more than they beat us, and I do believe it's from coaching, from the scheme. Yeah. He threw the ball around because he had time. He had no sense of pressure or any, oh man, I better get this out because the blitz is coming. It's just like he stood there. He could have been in a 7-step drop all day and received no pressure whatsoever, not even a hurry. And he certainly, if we did hit him, they would have thrown a flag on him. You can hit Fields in the fucking head to the point where they're like, we got to get him checked out in the tent. He better go get checked out in the tent. Of course, official standing right there. No, they don't throw the flag. We've been saying that all season for whining. How many penalties did Fields get all year? Again, what was it? Was it 0?
0.
It was 0. It was fucking 0, of course.
Yeah. He, I do believe that he should get a lawyer. Because I swear to God, a bunch of players sued the NFL for concussion. There's just no way they are actually trying to protect him and some of the other quarterbacks in the National Football League. They need to start throwing flags. And if they don't do anything about this, I bet somebody's going to sue them. Somebody's going to say, you guys just didn't protect me out there, and the rules say that you should. So that pissed me off. Big time.
I made a boxing analogy last night. If I could throw this at you again,
please do.
Not to plug what I said last night, but I think it really is apt here. Did you drop the $100 to watch Pacquiao and Mayweather in 15?
No, I did not.
Well, I did. And going into the fight, how many times did you hear this about Manny? Oh man, he throws punches from different angles. He's just he's elusive, and you don't know where he's coming from, and he's throwing punches, and he's always throwing punches. He didn't do any of that shit against Floyd. Now, granted, maybe that's because Floyd is a badass motherfucker. But if you come in, your whole game is you throw punches from different angles, and like I said, they don't know how to defend it. And then you get to fight Floyd, the fight you wanted for almost a decade, and you don't throw any punches. Mm-hmm. Now, some people have said it's because he had a shoulder injury. But the point is, you get the fight you wanted. We had week 17. We wanted to put our team out, just like Pacquiao with Mayweather, and he gets in there and he's afraid to throw punches. How do you think you're going to beat Floyd if you don't throw any punches? Mm-hmm. You're not. At least Conor McGregor went out there and got punched out because he gave it his best shot. Mm-hmm. Like he threw all of his, he gave everything he had the first 4 rounds, and then Floyd whipped his ass, but he went in to win. So Pacquiao, the rest of his life, can say, I didn't even try. I didn't get my game plan going against Mayweather at all. That's why I lost. That's why we lost on Sunday. We didn't throw any punches, to use a cliche.
I posted this on social media Sunday. You know, I don't believe that the Chicago Bears organization would command their coaching staff to tank a game, but it sure did feel that way late in the season because of Luke Getsy's play calling, and it sure felt that way on Sunday. The Bears could have been drafting at their own pick, around the 15th, 16th position if they would have won that game, but instead they're drafting at 9th, and it's almost like, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, and I really don't think that type of shit happens in the NFL for the most part. There have been some exceptions, but I just don't feel the Bears would do that. But I sure did get the feeling, man, that they were tanking, and it was, and Luke Getsy was the primary offender behind that. Those play calls were awful, fucking awful.
And I kept thinking at the time when they would show, you know, like, I'm insane, so I talk to the TV, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they would show cutaways of Luke on the sideline or Eberflus on the sideline. I'm like, come on, guys, where are your balls? Like, step up. Your livelihood is on the line. It's not just another game here, because this is your rival. Virginia McCaskey just turned 101. There's no guarantee she could get to 102. Win this for the old lady. Win it for your fucking fans. Win it for for Justin Fields, whose whole career's on the line here. Everything's on the line, not just another game. Your coaching career, too. Like, where is your fire? Where are your balls? And that's what I'm saying. They were listless. There's no fire on the sidelines. You always, I don't mean this as a jab, Aldo, so don't take it personally. You always tell, again, we go back to like the old days, and you're like, man, Ditka should have gotten more out of that team. But even if he lost, Ditka wasn't sitting over there just taking it. He's fucking yelling to the point where he's having a heart attack because he's so fucking stressed out about what he's seeing. Like, the point is, he's giving you all he's got, and those guys should have. They're just standing there like Forrest fucking Gump on that bench, just sitting there. Just fucking sitting there. And that's the part that just like, wake up. Are you on Benadryl? You're about to fall asleep? What the fuck? Wake up. You need somebody to fucking slap them in the face. That's what I just, please wake up. Please realize the task in hand.
That's a great, another great rant. I think that's 5 rants for you.
I'm sorry.
They're great. They're great. Don't apologize.
Well, could I, if you don't mind, this is an audible, and I know I don't want you to be like, oh, Dan, you can't do this to me anymore. Okay. But I've got a guy who's there with me, who's been working with me all season, and he's been listening. He's with me here tonight. I just want, if it's just 2 minutes, to bring him in. He's a Steeler fan. You can ask him about Justin Fields. Ask him his perspective. I just want to introduce you to.
What's his name?
This is Justin, not Justin Fields, but my guy Justin Hicks.
We share namesake, so I am a Fields fan. What's up, Aldo? How are you, man?
I'm well, brother. How are you?
I'm great. Still want to know how those stripper pole classes went for Mrs. Gandia. No, I have listened.
She wasn't happy about that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I can imagine.
My take with Fields, I've talked to Dan a lot. I am a college football fan. And knowing that you guys own the the Carolina Panthers pick, I keep hearing generational quarterback and Caleb Williams. That word is so loosely thrown around nowadays. I feel like it's just lost its luster. I'm not a Caleb Williams fan after seeing, especially this year, what he could do. So I'm like, you know what? Trade that pick or get Marvin Jr., do something, but I'm not getting rid of Fields. If you guys want to get rid of Fields, I'll take him today in Pittsburgh without question. But no, I feel like I've seen some Bears talk, and I see your man, you guys have had a struggle this season, and there's so many games. It's like you said at the beginning, Dan. You played not to lose.
Oh, yeah,
instead of for the win.
Makes me sick.
And I feel like this could be a much different team with, as you said, ballsier calls. I'll just put it that way. I know this is a PG show.
No, it's not. It's a rated R show.
No, I know. But we had that one guy Or
Oh,
lady.
yeah, somebody was mad earlier. They're always mad.
That was a Packer fan, probably.
Yeah, he's left. I haven't seen any sign of. I mean, he probably was a Packer fan. You're
I
right.
was just about to tell him a good blowjob story too.
Well, let's hear that one. I don't know. I think this franchise can be turned around. I just don't know if Eberflus is the guy to do so. I love. I know hot stove is the wrong term to use here, but coaching the rumor mill, the coaching carousel. Sorry, the carousel.
Are you getting us to Jim Harbaugh? Is that what you're trying to do?
Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, he just won last night. I love I don't know, I just love what he brings. I love the energy. I love the quarterback confidence that he brings, and I think that's what Fields needs. Look what JJ McCarthy did. He's not exactly going to, blow your mind with his numbers, but he just won a national championship, and Harbaugh has gotten results at Michigan
And San Francisco.
and San Francisco and Stanford.
Yeah.
Justin, we have a question for you from Laz. He wants to know, if you want Justin Fields so bad, what would you give up for him?
Kenny Pickett right now in a heartbeat. No, I don't know. I think that's a good question.
Don't want Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky.
Please, no.
No, I don't know. I
Mike
think
Tomlin.
Yeah, there you go.
I love Tomlin. I think I love Tomlin more than I do the Steelers at this point. I don't know. That's a good question. That really is. I mean, you have to look at where the pick is going to be, of course, and Pittsburgh is in the playoffs. So, I mean, would I throw it first? Maybe.
Every time we get somebody from Pittsburgh, it doesn't go well, whether it's Chase Claypool or Marcus Wheaton.
Sorry about
or
that.
Santonio Holmes or Merrill fucking Hodge. Jeff Graham's the only one that comes to mind that was ever any good. So, but you didn't get Trubisky from us directly, but
Right.
maybe
Still.
both teams, I don't know what James Daniels did there, but it just seems like maybe we should stay away from Pittsburgh. If we trade Justin there, he'll probably be a Hall of Famer.
Well, I'll take him in that case. I will take him. Well, I was a fan of his at Ohio State, though. So,
Yeah. A lot of people I know are and still believe highly. A lot of people who are Ohio State rooters still believe in Justin so much that, if they root for Tennessee or the Rams or whatever, they want Justin Fields. I read these articles and posts from fans all over. It's unbelievable the impact that he made as Ohio State's quarterback is going to last for a long, long time. He's got a lot of fans.
and he's just a good guy. He's a good kid. You want to root him on, even if you're not a Bears fan.
Do you think, Justin, that he holds the ball too long and that his processing could become better?
I do think that, but to the point earlier, that O-line was just atrocious. Dan sent me the picture of how many times he was hit, rushed, sacked. That was bad this past weekend, and I didn't watch the game. So, but I do think he does hold on to it too long. That can be fixed with another head coach or offensive coordinator, a new system.
But like Jay always says, Aldo, that's like the praise that Mahomes gets. And I'm not trying to say that Fields is anywhere near Mahomes. I'm not, but they're always like, oh, look at Mahomes running around and Mahomes magic. And, he took 13 seconds to find Kelsey.
That's a good
And it's
point.
like he's praised for trying to do this, for doing the things that Fields is trying to do. But Fields is running for his life, not because, that's what Mahomes wants. He wants to be on the run. Now, Fields is going to get killed if he doesn't run. And then there's still nobody open. So it's just like, I mean, you praise one guy for holding on to the ball, and then the other one you denigrate. It just.
If you look at the personnel, though, too, I mean, minus this year, Mahomes has had those playmakers in the past, right?
Right, and he said, I'm sure you saw this, Aldo, last week, and maybe we talked about it on the air. He said when he got drafted, he couldn't read defenses at all. It was one read and gone, and then Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and Alex Smith taught him that whole first season while he was sitting. So if he'd have gotten drafted in Chicago, he would have been a flop.
Yeah,
because he had Matt Nagy here and he didn't know how to read defenses. And then now I keep hearing, well, you passed on C.J. Stroud too, but they wouldn't have drafted Stroud. They would have drafted the kid from Alabama that Carolina drafted first. But now that's what I hear on Chicago radio. You can't, and I'm sure you got some of it queued up. You can't pass on Mahomes and Stroud and Caleb Williams.
Fields is much I think arguably better than Stroud at the collegiate level, in my opinion.
But I mean, you see how they're making that argument though, like it's not really fair because again, it's different regimes. Even Mahomes said he wouldn't have been able to, he had to have that year to learn to be who he is. And so do you think Nagy would have taught him anything? Fuck no. He would have been a bust. And who's to say CJ Stroud would have played better or played like he did in Chicago? It's not a fair comparison, but that's getting all this steam, and I'm sure you got some of it, where I'm trying to give you a preview there. Where they're saying you have to make this trade, or you can't trade, you have to make the draft pick because of this and this. And I think that's a fallacy.
Starkey Love makes a good point. Mahomes is coached to play that way. Fields has been coached to not play that way since he's been here.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Great
it's
point.
A very, very good point. Hey, Justin, since you follow college football, what's your opinion of Drake May, the North Carolina quarterback?
He's very athletic, again, which you have that in Fields. I think he, again, in the right system, he can do well. But that's the issue. Of course, Caleb is supposedly going first, amongst the quarterbacks. I don't mean first overall. But Drake, depending on his landing spot, you wonder about the New York Giants or the New England Patriots. I think he could fit. I think he can fit in the NFL in the right circumstance. Arguably better than Caleb Williams when it comes to athleticism. In my mind.
Have you heard interviews with Drake May?
I have not. No. The reason he went to UNC, though, he could have went to a much bigger college. It's a family thing. Mm-hmm. I do know that.
Okay. The only reason I asked is because Zach in the chat room was asking the other day that he's heard a couple of interviews, and it seems like Drake mumbles his words and was wondering if he had like some kind of speech impediment or something like that. So I'm gonna
let me point out that Lester Hayes,
he did go to UNC though, so he didn't have to go to class, right?
Lester Hayes stuttered, and I don't know if he made the Hall of Fame. He should have. I think he was one of the veterans, the committee, like the older guys that could make it in. And Dexter Manley wasn't exactly the smartest cat in the world talking, and he made Jim McMahon's life a living hell. So
it could be nerves with Drake. I haven't heard anything. Again, you hear all positive about the kid and his family. His brother was Luke May that played at collegiate basketball at UNC.
Are we as Bear fans really wanting to take another quarterback from UNC? I mean, maybe that's a stupid argument.
No,
maybe that's stupid, but do we really want to draft Trubisky 2.0 here?
I want another Ohio State guy for you guys in Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'll take that.
I've said that from jump. I think this kid is off the charts, so much so that Ohio State was trying to get the NIL money up around 20 to 25 million to keep him. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Mo Bierman says Burrow went to the Super Bowl with an awful offensive line. He's tired of hearing excuses for Justin Fields.
That's true. That's true.
But the thing that Mo and I think a lot of other people,
it's a different game too.
It's a different team. You got different weapons. You got different coaches. Burrow is a pocket passer. Was in college. They didn't try to change him in the pros, so it was a natural progression for him. The challenge with Justin is that he was a pocket passer in college, but when he came to the pros, the game is faster than it was, and now he's had to use his legs. And that's a very valuable lesson that the coaching staff has to apply to their scheming and their play calling, as opposed to using it as a device that as some, like you used, a trick play, a scat back or something like that. And that's not what you should do with Justin. You really got to develop an offense around his particular skills.
When you said that, it made me think of that soundbite from him that it's so awful now. After his first preseason game, when he said something like, the game isn't too fast for me, or that's a paraphrase, but if you put that in context where he is now at the end of the third year, it's like, ooh, probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Scroll says keeping Fields is like refusing herpes medication.
I was scratching my balls when he said that.
And I have
hope it's not the herpes. No, it's not the herpes.
I do have a fever blister as I'm on this microphone.
Oh my goodness.
To that point though, as you mentioned, Aldo, Cincinnati has done everything in their will to make Burrow as comfortable as possible, even drafting his friend and Jamar Chase in Chicago has not done the same.
Did anybody see Browning, the backup's girl, the outfit she had on Sunday?
No.
I didn't.
Oh my God, please look it up. What's his name? Something Browning.
Jake Browning from Milwaukee.
His girlfriend had a skin tight outfit on. You have to see it. Brent Musburger would have gotten hard on the spot and gotten fired from talking about it on air. Remember that fiasco?
Oh, I did see this. Let me find
Oh my goodness. You haven't seen it? You got to see this.
He's on Brent is on VSIN now, so he doesn't.
Brent is a legend, but you had that thing with what was the kid's name? Oh, come on, the quarterback.
AJ McCarron.
Yeah, he was hitting on McCarron's woman or talking about how hot she was. This fucking thing from Sunday is unbelievable.
I'm looking it up as we speak.
It's a skin tight outfit that a fucking stripper would say, "Oh my God, where'd she get that from?"
She's I do see this.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I'm
Stephanie.
sorry. I'm trying to get a picture here.
Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh my God! Am I overhyping it or is
No.
No.
I think you have to shave before you leave the house in that outfit. And I'm not talking about your legs.
What would I look like in that outfit at a?
We don't want to know.
No offense. You know. Oh, you ought to see her ass, Aldo. There's another side of it.
I didn't see the backside.
I've seen her. Her ass is popping like pow.
I would imagine so. My goodness,
If she had any sign of bush, you could see it there. There's
that could arguably be a Jay Cutler onesie thing she has on. Right?
Good stuff, fellas. All right, I'm going to roll a media mashup as we have.
Look for the girl's ass during the mashup. You won't be disappointed.
I'm going to do porn as well. See if she's.
I might be objectifying people here, but you show me the meteorologist every week, so it's okay for me to point her out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here it is in pants, though. It's not the same.
Yeah, that's not the same. That outfit was pretty fucking amazing. I was like, why can't she be Fields' girlfriend so we can see her every week?
That's right. Oh man, Swanky has joined us. Tony is with us.
Tony the Tiger.
Lots of people in the chat room. Justin, I hope you stick around. We're going to play this media mashup, and we can talk to you on the other end.
Yes, sir. I love the mashup.
All right, here it comes.
Ryan Poles takes the job 2 years ago, and his opening salvo is, "We're going to take back the North." Excuse me? First thing you got to do, Big Shot, is figure out how to beat Green Bay.
No, first thing he's got to do is shut his big mouth.
Well, a game like this today, I mean, it was the finale. It leaves you mad, frustrated, empty. Yeah, was it fool's gold that we saw the last month and a half of the season? You have to think yes, because when we were in a matchup today against the youngest team in football, this isn't, the Packers of Aaron Rodgers that had been to Super Bowls and all that. This is a bunch of kids up there that got after us, and they dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage from start to finish.
They have a head coach, Dan.
Yep, and folks, I think if you listen to this program, you know that Ed O'Bradovich loves Dan Campbell, the coach in Detroit. Kevin O'Connell, the coach up in Minnesota, had 5 different quarterbacks have to play this year because of the loss of their starter, Kirk Cousins. All that being said, they're not the best coaches. The best coach is the one we saw today, Matt LaFleur. He is 10-0 against the Chicago Bears. 10-0 in his 5 years of another start of a reign of terror. And guess what? We've all had questions about what our quarterback, is. What can he be? Are we going to, fish or cut bait? We don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. We did everything we could to christen the career of Jordan Love. Today, he was magnificent. We will detail it as we go through this next hour or so. But I got to tell you, OB, what a gut punch. What a gut punch. And our so-called defense that's been, badass and playing, they were nowhere to be found. The Packers rolled up 432 yards. And you know what? I don't even think they were trying that hard.
Well, Dan, there's a word called reality, and the Bears got a dose of it today, and the fans got a dose of it looking at this game today. Again, my God, how do you pass for, in 4 quarters, we passed for a total of 117 yards, and we ran for 75 yards. Folks, I just tell you, and the most important down, again, if you're going to score points, etc., you got to move it on 3rd down. We were 3 of 11. They were 7 of 10, which Dan mentioned, for a total of 432 yards, of which 308 yards was passing. Our Hall of Fame quarterback had 117, which is week after week after week after week. Now, the most important thing, wound up the season with 7 wins and 10 losses. Now, in those 7 wins, folks, we beat one team. We beat one team that had a winning record. Let me say that again. In our 7 victories, we beat one team that had a winning record.
And how much do you put on Coach Eberflus for even last year, David? Because, you gutted the team last year, right? He took all the talent away. And I know they're saying they're improving, but there's no way you couldn't after trading all your best players and then adding good players to the team this year. So from what we saw yesterday, I think my biggest disappointment was, besides Tyreek Stevenson, who also struggled at times covering the best receivers with Jalen Johnson out, although he did make that fumble and he made that big tackle at the end of the half to stop the guy's forward progress, to keep the clock running. Besides those 2 plays, I can't point to you a guy who did anything good for himself yesterday, right? You didn't want to see them lose or get that dominated in the trenches. I didn't want to see that, right? I didn't want to see their rookie D tackles not getting their pads low against the run. Didn't want to see Tevin Jenkins have maybe his worst game of the year when he walked out to be honorary captain. I want to see young guys playing on fire, playing tough, getting after guys. That's what you wanted to see. What did the Chicago Bears want to see? What did Ryan Poles want to see? Kevin Warren? I don't know. I don't know from their comments over the airwaves yesterday. I don't know how much they put into that game. Probably not a lot. I know for myself personally, I didn't like what I saw at all from the Chicago Bears yesterday on that football field.
I'm very curious about your take on changing quarterbacks, on changing offensive coordinator, changing the head coach. Is any of that going to happen? Is a lot of that going to happen? What was your takeaway after the season and where they're at and all the? We heard from the general manager. Sure sounded like he's very pleased with the coach.
Yeah, he did, right? The general manager was talking on, and he just talked about how he liked the direction they were going in, and how Coach Eberflus kept them underwater and had handled the sudden change, which is interesting to me, is steady at the wheel. The sudden change, I'm imagining, were the 2 coaches getting fired. So just kind of wondering what he was talking about there. And then we're all wondering what they're looking at and what they consider to put on certain guys' shoulders and what they think they saw out there, right? Because if you put yourself in Coach Getsy or Justin Fields' chair, you have an argument on your side, right? You can walk in there and say, look, man, look at what you did with the offensive line. Of course, your secondary was playing well. Of course they were. You put all your assets in the secondary, and you skipped over the position everyone seems to be talking about right now. We all know in Chicago, we all get stuck on the offensive line at the end of the year. We yell about it all year, right? And then the draft time, we want to draft somebody else. That's our MO around here. We got to fix the O-line, let's draft the cornerback, okay? So, my argument would be to them, well, you didn't take the 2 top centers in the draft were there for you to take. You didn't take them, right? You put the $100 million DN on that side of the ball. You put all the linebackers on the other side of the ball. We could have got a scat back. At the end of the year when Cole Kmet is bumped up and limping off the field after every play and fighting through it. Credit him for fighting through it and trying to play. But at the end of the year, now it's Tyler Scott. Now it's Trent Taylor. I got to go look again at who number 80 is, the wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. He was playing a lot out there yesterday, right? Khalil Herbert. Deontay Foreman doesn't get a jersey. You don't have a scat back. You don't have a lot of weapons out there. So it's just kind of, I don't know how they're looking at things. I don't know how how much they place on, say, the last year. How much do they place that losing on Coach Eberflus, or did they just gut the team, right? How much do they place this on Justin Fields and Getsy, or do they just say, man, we actually didn't give them a lot to work with there? So I don't really know what they're looking at there. It seems like it's time for a new OC. It seems like it's time for a new quarterback, especially because you have the number one pick in the draft. That's why you're considering doing that. It'll be interesting to see which direction they go in.
Be patient, understand how fast weeks go, and that by the end of this week, we should have some form of resolution on all of this. I think the Bears are determined, as we kind of have requested that they be for years in advance of this, very thorough, very methodical and detailed in sifting through everything and understanding that the decisions that they make, starting first with the head coach and then obviously much later in the winter and spring with the quarterback situation, are going to change the direction of the franchise one way or another for 5 years, maybe 10 or 15. And so it's important to be very thoughtful with those. It's important to ask every single question that you have in the back of your head. It's important to evaluate every piece of evidence and figure out what means the most to you. And, you know, like for me, this is an opportunity here for Ryan Poles and by extension, Kevin Warren, to define excellence. What does excellence mean to them, and how close are these Bears to attaining it? And if the answer is not as close as we want to be, well, then what are the resolutions to get us closer? They've got to sort that out this week, and I think in the next couple of days they'll have some really long and detailed conversations about it.
Shouldn't they have been sorting this out for weeks? What I don't understand is every other team will either fire a coach during the season, like get this idiot out of here, or
Black Monday,
or today, the moment the season is over, or yesterday they're done and now they're in the market and now the process is beginning and staffs are getting put together and now the selections are beginning. What more do you need? What more time? Like, why would you let a guy you might fire do 9 hours of exit interviews?
I don't think there's any harm in it, Dan, to be honest with you. I understand why you're antsy. I understand why a lot of the audience is likely to be antsy with this week, but you're trying to find the ideal combination. And this is a very rare opportunity for the Bears because it is not only the coach, it's the quarterback situation. And you have to kind of marry those visions up, as we've talked about for the last couple months, and in trying to figure out what is the best path to whatever we choose at quarterback. How are we going to have the right support system around that quarterback to try to take him to the next level? And so I just think it's complicated and it's complex. And yes, they've been doing a lot of this homework, but now's a chance to step back out of the grind, remove emotion from it, use perspective. And if it takes an extra 36 hours, it takes an extra 36 hours. You're not going to fall far behind in any of the meaningful approaches of trying to find replacements, if that is indeed the direction you ultimately choose to go.
I'm out on Justin Fields. It's time. We must just see it and admit it. I think he's a tremendous man who has shown professionalism and class every step of the way, all the way through the end of the day yesterday. But when you have season bracketing losses to the bitter rival where the other quarterback is so definitively better than you at very specific, necessary things to be an NFL quarterback, it makes a mark. That's one thing. And as the seventh game of this 7-game fair shake, this fair measuring stick, that was a colossal failure. It was obviously not just on him. Terrible day for the offensive line. He clearly doesn't trust people beyond DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and with good reason. Luke Getsy needs to be fired directly into the sun, and I think will be. But he does not have the quick processing you need to have, that pocket processing, quick trigger stuff at the top of your drop. And when he does release it, it's not as quick as it needs to be. And when you see the genuine article, sadly, unfortunately, right across the field to begin and end the season, it just becomes very, very obvious. He's always going to have that exhilarating improvisational stuff. It's been incredibly fun, and I know it's going to be fun. I wish him well, and I think he will have success, but I can't count on him developing that pocket quarterback thing after 38 starts if he doesn't have it now. So I am out.
All right. He's out. That's big.
I don't know if it's big.
It's big for the conversation of this show for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, and by the way, I do think firing Luke Getsy, trading the number 1 overall pick, and if Ryan Poles decided to do that and he hits on multiple first-round picks this year, because everyone's like, oh, just give him a left tackle and give him another great wide receiver and let Justin Cook sign a center. Those guys can bust. Like Joe Alt could bust. Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr., they could bust. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. will bust, but it's possible. It happens every year, all the time. So it's not just like quarterbacks can bust. You can bust at left tackle. You could bust at wide receiver in the NFL. But I do think that Justin Fields is good. I just think there is a unique position that Ryan Poles has been afforded because of the Carolina pick being number 1 in a great quarterback class, according to all of the experts.
Yeah.
That he's going to walk down that path because Justin hasn't done enough to steer him in the other direction. And frankly, I think about 2/3 of the league would do the same thing.
Yeah, because it is the number 1 pick. It's not
trading
5.
3 future firsts
No.
to go up and get it and mortgaging your future. It's not taking the 3rd or 4th quarterback in the draft. It's the number 1 pick. And it pained me to watch Jordan Love yesterday because he doesn't suck.
No, he really doesn't. They have another one. They do.
Him holding the ball down at like the numbers on his jersey and kind of hopping on the balls of his feet.
Way too Aaron-like, right?
Way too Aaron-like. That was sickening. That is sickening to watch.
Yeah.
I hated every minute of that football game.
Help us scout the next Bears quarterback. We're going to watch a lot of film of Caleb Williams. We're going to watch a lot of Drake May, maybe Jaden Daniels. What should we look for to try and make sure that this person has that pocket quarterback on schedule skill set?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I do. You know, again, I'm not a big college football watcher during the NFL season. I've got too much on my plate with the NFL, and that's my first love. So that's where I go outside of, maybe watching my boys or whatever it is. So I will get into that over the next month or so and dive into these guys. And, I'll say a couple things is that the first thing is that it's really hard to understand what you're going to get at the next level by watching most of these college guys, because offenses are so different. The hash marks are different. The way things are set up are different. The disparity between one team and another is so different. And so, I don't ever project to be an expert on these, college quarterbacks coming into the NFL and where I end up ranking them at the end of the day, because I don't fully know how things are going to translate because it is so different. But that is the one thing that I always look at is, I've said it, I don't know how many weeks on here, is that I believe you have to play this game in the pocket. You have to make the layups. You have to make most of the throws you're supposed to make. And then where the specialness comes is what you can do on top of that. And so, I was just watching the Bills film, and, Josh Allen had 400 yards of total offense. And, he was kind of up and down. He missed a lot of things on schedule, but he also made a lot of things on schedule. So he gives you that, whatever that ratio is of, playing in the pocket. And then he does miss some things in the pocket, but then he's got that specialness to him to make up for some of the stuff he misses in the pocket. But it's not like he's just out there running around making it up all the time. He does a lot of really good things in the pocket, not, finished product there yet, but then makes up for it. And that's, to me, kind of how, when you watch these guys, in college, you have to try to figure out, is there enough of the pocket stuff there that says, okay, it really appears like he knows what he's looking at. And it appears as if he can play, inside the pocket, on schedule, seeing defenses, understanding what that is. And then, is there some special? And again, I always say the special can come in a lot of different ways. It can come inside the pocket, making special throws, whether it's anticipation or whether it's unique accuracy or whatever that is. Or it can come, again, I'll use Josh Allen, or we can use Justin Fields. It can come in those off schedule, taking off and running, or buying extra time in the pocket, running around and then making a play. And so, but I want to see all of it. I want to see a guy that first and foremost, I believe can play in the pocket, because as I say every week, when you watch games in this league, most games are won by the better quarterback, and the quarterback that plays better on schedule is the guy that wins most of the time. Now, you're going to get some special, and those guys obviously are difference makers, but that to me still jumps out on the film every single week. And so I need a guy that I know can do that to some degree. And then you start, if you find 2 or 3 of those guys, then you start weighing the other stuff, how special of a thrower are they? How accurate are they? What's their technique look like? How much of a playmaker are they? And what can they give us from that standpoint? Are they a dual threat quarterback? So we can get into situations where we can supplement our run game with our quarterback at times. And so, that to me is where this process goes and what I'm going to be looking for. But I think you still have to start with, show me you understand the game and the passing game, because that's where it's all going to start. And then we start layering in the other things that these guys can do.
Matt Eberflus looks like he may survive it. I mean, this is something you talked about with us early in the season, that you felt like stability was the right thing for the Bears. You feel the same way still?
Absolutely. Listen, he was talking about the progress they were making, and it was hard for everybody to see kind of through the fog because they were losing. They were losing games, especially games that they should have won. But, what I saw was a team that was being coached much better, especially once he took over as a defensive coordinator, and I saw progression. I know, just like everybody else, that this team wasn't going to be the playoff team this year, even though they lost games that they probably could have won and gotten themselves into the playoffs. But this wasn't the team that was supposed to go all the way, or get into the playoffs. Next year's team, the third year, is the team that needs to be in the playoffs. I think that is his window, and I think that they're close enough now, and they've shown enough for us all to know that next year, that is the expectation.
Lance, in my opinion, again, you can disagree. We have of the four teams in the NFC North, we have the fourth best coach. We have the fourth best quarterback. We have the fourth best offensive line. It's just not good enough. I don't know what they're going to do with Eberflus. I don't know who you'd replace him with. We have the fourth best offensive coordinator. But I'm changing coaches and coordinators at the very least. I'm changing quarterbacks and coordinators at the very least.
Why would you do that?
I don't think Justin.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that and expect to be a playoff contending team next year?
Lance, I'm not worried about the playoffs next year. I'm worried about winning a Super Bowl and putting this sustained success together for the first time since when you guys had a run going with Lovey or the 80s. Justin isn't good enough. The coordinator isn't good enough, and I personally don't think the head coach is good enough. I'd move on from the whole crew of them, but I don't think they're going to fire Eberflus at this point.
I don't think they should. Look, you got to listen. One of the problems is always trying to compare success of the Kansas City Chiefs or the Houston Texans or they have this Patrick Mahomes or they have this C.J. Stroud. They have these different players in these different places. This isn't them, and we can't base our success off of this other franchise or this. We have to base it off of Chicago. And right now there is progress. We've clearly seen the progress that this team has made, the steps they've made. And if you get rid of Eberflus, all you do is make that consistent defense that he's put out there take steps back. You bring somebody else in, and they have to relearn. You have a great locker room right now. And you can see it. You know that those guys are itching, and I've seen this before. I've seen that locker room, the way they feel. They know that they are on the edge of doing something great. Okay, and they feel it in that locker room. All you need to do is add. Don't subtract to what you have going on right now. They're progressing, and the only thing you can do right now by removing any of those pieces. Well, I'm not going to say every piece, but moving some of those main pieces like the coach, the quarterback. The OC is you're going to take steps back. You're going to subtract to what they're trying to add.
Does Harbaugh go to Vegas? Are the Bears in at all? Does anybody think the Bears are in? Has there been any real buzz to indicate that the Bears are in? Don't we always say where there's smoke, there's fire, Yerk? Do we see, smell any smoke whatsoever? Is there anything here on Bears and Harbaugh?
I don't see anything yet.
It doesn't appear to be.
I don't see. We always ask who the coaches are there, who the Carolina Panthers have released their list of 9 that they want to interview.
Yeah.
Can I tell you who they are?
Absolutely.
Lions offense coordinator Ben Johnson.
Of course.
Makes sense.
Everybody's getting interviewed.
Texans OC offense coordinator Bobby Slowick.
Yep.
Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.
Makes sense.
Defense coordinator for the Cowboys Dan Quinn, and he's a coach in the past.
Former
head coach.
Yep.
Ravens defense coordinator Mike McDonald.
That kid's getting a lot of look, Yerk. He's going to get some look.
Offensive coordinator Frank Smith. Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. And Buccaneers offensive coordinator Dave Canellis. So those are your names.
That's a big list.
There's your 9 names that are out there right now as the coordinators that are here that might be interviewed for, dare I say, the name Jim Harbaugh is sexier than a lot of those names that I read there.
Yeah.
They
of
are
course.
the sexier.
I think Harbaugh is probably the sexiest outside of Ben Johnson. A lot of people might say he's sexier because he's got a proven track record.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson does not. I think Ben Johnson's a pretty intriguing candidate. And that's, if I'm making a coaching change, that's who I'd want to hire.
I'm intrigued.
The thing that has always scared me about Harbaugh at the NFL level is, like, are you in some sort of window?
Yeah.
I guess we always talk about windows, but do you only have 4 years before he tries a power play on your GM and then it all blows up and it goes to smithereens like it did in San Francisco? Why does a coach who had so much success those first 3 years in San Francisco completely flame out in that 4th year and get fired? Like, it's a little scary. But Harbaugh is... Listen, as much as I might think Ben Johnson's an intriguing candidate, I mean, I guess it'd be silly to argue that anybody's sexier than Harbaugh right now, right?
No, he's the sexiest candidate.
Here we go again with the who's sexy and who's not.
He's the belle of the ball.
He's the belle of the ball.
He's the belle of the ball. That's what he is right there.
The best way to put it.
Yeah.
He is the belle of the ball.
The belle of the ball. But I want to at least, because we always say who are the candidates, and I can come up with, like, Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick. After that,
well, Mike McDonald.
Yes,
you got to be careful. Not Mike McDaniel. Mike McDonald, I think, is going to be very intriguing for some teams. Even though he's a defensive guy, doesn't mean you can't. Right? We always say that. Like, I would, if I'm an owner, I think I'm definitely leaning towards offense, but it doesn't mean you can't. And I think he's the super intriguing one, kind of with those other ones that you talked about. But Harbaugh is clearly the belle of the ball right now. And I don't know how many NFL teams are going to kick the tires on him, to be honest.
I can't hear you, Aldo.
That's because I'm muted.
Okay, Mr. Santucci.
I didn't want you guys to hear my farting.
Oh.
I've been eating these caramel candies, and man, I got the farts awfully bad. Anyway, what is the deal with Harbaugh? How do you guys feel about Harbaugh returning to Chicago, this time as the head coach? Do you think that maybe we haven't heard anything from Halas Hall because the Bears, Kevin Warren and Ryan Post, wanted to see if there's any interest from Harbaugh after last night's championship game? Perhaps they were on the phone with him. Perhaps they're negotiating something. Perhaps they're just feeling each other out. Do you think that's a possibility? And if so, does that appeal to any one of you two guys?
I mean, I'd love to have Harbaugh. I think we all would, but it just feels like conjecture at this point. Like, nobody really knows. The beat writers don't know. Oh, Dan Weeder doesn't know. Mully and Haw don't know. Cap doesn't know. We don't know. I mean, right now we just have to sit and wait. If I had to bet my money, if I was betting my mortgage, do I think that the Bears would get Harbaugh? Probably not. Because he's going to command, not because they're cheap like everyone thinks, but he's going to command a very large salary. And like I said before, I kind of feel like maybe I could see George being like, you know what? He was a dick to me in 1992, so I don't want to bring this abrasive bastard here. So I could see them saying that. But then again, maybe Kevin Warren says, hey, I'm the team president and I want him. So maybe they would bring him in. But I don't want to get my hopes up on this because I don't know if it's realistic. I think it's just us as Bear fans wanting something that may not come into fruition. But Justin, what do you think?
I agree with the last gentleman who mentioned Harbaugh's stock right now. He's just coming off a title at Michigan, the first one since 97. So, I mean, he's a confidence builder with your quarterback, right? You guys drafted him. Right. So, hey, I'm famous now. You guys drafted him. I love Harbaugh. I love him for Michigan. I love him wherever he goes. I know there were reports that the Raiders and the Chargers are the two teams that apparently have been filling out also, and he has a little bit of interest, at least as far as we know. We could be left in the dark. But again, I love the fit because if you keep Justin Fields, who better to come in there and fix this guy, essentially.
Like he did Kaepernick.
He did Alex Smith and Kaepernick. Right. And Alex was then able to go on to Kansas City and help Mahomes along the way. And Kaepernick, obviously, we know what happened with Kaepernick, but he was an outstanding quarterback under Harbaugh. And
It really was, yeah.
Chip Kelly kind of came in there and tried his own little variation of things, and it didn't work out. But long story short, Harbaugh, I think, is a great hire for whomever in the NFL. So I would love to see that happen for you guys because it's been a hot minute since there has been a great name. I thought Nagy a few years back was going to be good for you guys. But again, that being that Andy Reid system along with Kansas City, I just expected success, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. But
well, that's one of the things about the Bears is, when they hired Dave Wannstedt, he was the hottest coaching candidate out there. He just come off a Super Bowl win. He was the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody wanted Wannstedt, and that didn't work out. Then, they tried Lovie Smith, and a lot of success with Lovie. Took us to the Super Bowl, but he was fired after a 10-win season, which is the craziest thing I think I've ever seen with the way Chicago Bears have treated any of their coaches. And then they try to get exotic and bring in the quarterback whisperer, some guy who's been coaching in the Canadian Football League for 10 years.
That's a head scratcher for me still, Aldo. I don't know why. Trestman, right?
Mark Trestman, and they bypassed Bruce Arians, who went on to go to the Super Bowl with coaching the Cardinals and Kurt Warner. So they've done just, I don't know if it's bad luck or just plain stupidity or a combination of different factors, but the Bears have just had some awful results with their coaching selections. And so maybe I still think that maybe this delay by the folks at Hallis Hall and even announcing when they're going to have the press conference could be because they're talking to certain people to see if there's at least interest before firing Matt Eberflus. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just clearly speculating. It would be exciting if they did fire Eberflus and there were discussions with Harbaugh. I'm not a huge fan of Jim Harbaugh because I think he creates a lot of turmoil wherever he goes. I mean, he was with the 49ers for 4 seasons. The first 3 were outstanding. And then in the 4th season where he started to ask for more power and he started acting strange, they couldn't wait to get rid of that fucker. And so you got to wonder,
that's true. That's a good point.
What's going on with this guy?
And you have to look at Michigan this year, right?
Right. Suspended, allegations of cheating, and on and on. So he's a risky guy. But I'll tell you what, he'll make things fucking entertaining for us. There's no doubt about it. Somebody's calling us a fucking dolt. What's going on?
Here's a question I have for you two. You mentioned his first 3 seasons at San Francisco. Would you take, I'm going to try to phrase would you take 3 seasons of competition and winning NFC North titles and potentially getting to a Super Bowl with what comes with Harbaugh? Because I think that's what Michigan has done, obviously, for just an opportunity at a Super Bowl. I think you have to, right? It's the granddaddy of them all.
Fuck, I'm 65 years old.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. You have to. And he's quirky, but in now day and age with social media, people kind of dig it. He's a fan. He's like you love him or hate him. I won't speak political, but he is he's like a politician in this sense.
His khakis are terrible, but yes, I would take him.
Yeah. I don't mind the khakis.
He pulls them up to his goddamn nipples. He's like Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with those motherfuckers.
He drinks milk with steak, by the way. You guys remember hearing about that?
No, I didn't.
He went out to a restaurant, like this fine diner, I think 3 years ago, and he asked for instead of like a nice glass of expensive wine or champagne or whatever bourbon, he's like, bring me milk. So
well, that's
yeah,
a problem. I prefer a whiskey drinker.
yeah, there you go. There you go. And maybe he doesn't, but like I don't know. I feel like he's like one of those clickbait guys. But again, if it's going to get you to the promised land, you got to go for it.
Yeah, I think the issue though is that the McCaskey family had a bad experience with Mike Ditka, because he was so disruptive, and Mike drank a lot, and they were always worried that he was going to besmirch the brand of the Chicago Bears, and that, you know, his head had gotten too big. He was eating up endorsement deals that were meant for players and so forth. That had a really big disruptive effect on the McCaskey family. And then every time they've hired a coach since, it's been a much more subdued person, a personality that they could control, or at the very least feel comfortable that that person wasn't going to go on a drunken rampage and kill fans in San Francisco by throwing his bubblegum at them. So I think that's probably, unless Kevin Warren is saying to the McCaskey family, hey, I will take care of that. I will make sure that this person is under control. Unless that kind of force has entered Hallis Hall, I think the McCaskeys themselves are probably being, whoa, Harbaugh, no, a little too crazy for our liking. Can I have some more tea, please? So anyway, are you guys done talking media mashup? Anything else that really rattled your chains or caught your attention?
He pointed out, he said that what Lance Briggs was saying was essentially what I said to you before we went on.
That's correct.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that I hadn't heard Lance say that. I didn't listen to it. And I'm not trying to say he plagiarized me, obviously. But I think that it sounds like Lance and I are in the minority now, that everyone either wants Justin gone or they think he is gone. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that. That's how the Bears are thinking. 51-49%. I think that Justin is gone. I do think that if anybody is fighting for him, it could be Ryan Poles, because Poles, the general manager, has made comments about the play calling and the offensive scheme and so forth. And so he may also be thinking, you know, I got a fucking opportunity here that every general manager, every scout, every person that is responsible for player acquisition to just go fucking hog wild. I'm talking about number one draft picks from here to eternity. All I got to do is trade this pick for the so-called generational quarterback, and I'm going to have draft picks until I fucking die. I think that Ryan Poles might be thinking that way. That's why I say it could be 49% keeping Fields. We'll see.
Well, how long do you think this is going to play out? I mean, the quarterback thing is probably going to be until April.
Yes.
But the coaching, or unless there's an early trade like last year, but the coach and the offensive coordinator's got to be this week, right?
Absolutely. The league, it gives every team 7 days to have their year-end review press conference. And so I imagine it has to be this week, unless they're going to bend the rules and call the press conference for next Monday, which is when I think they'll make an announcement on Eberflus's and the assistant coaches and coordinators at that press conference, which is why I think things are being delayed. They're methodically, as somebody said in the mashup, going through all the scenarios. Okay, if we get rid of this guy, who are the possibilities that we replace? Blah, 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 that kind of shit.
I know Vrabel is available now from Tennessee, but like if we weren't going to get Harbaugh, which we'll probably keep Flus, but I know I may be in the minority on this, but I like Brian Flores, the guy that was in Miami, that was the D coordinator with the Vikings. Like I like his approach to like whether we lose or not, he's coming after Jordan Love on Sunday. The blitz is coming, and I wish maybe it's just because I grew up in the Ditka era that I romanticized about the blitzing, but that's what I want. I want some pressure on that guy. Fucking go after him.
That's not a bad. Where's he at? He's in Minnesota right now.
Yeah,
right?
the D coordinator in Minnesota.
That's perfect too with league. Just being familiar with everybody, all the other rivals in the North. So I like that one also, Dan. That's a
yeah.
That was very weird. His time in Miami, anyway.
Yeah, there were some issues with him down at Miami with him and quarterback Tua.
Yeah.
Somebody gave him a nickname the other day, which I thought was great. I wish I could remember. It was like Tua turned the ball over.
Yeah.
And so they weren't the big fans of one another, but the guy is a Jordan, by the way, would probably agree with you, Dan Aguirre, on that. He loves Brian Flores. But Flores is a little bit of a wild card. I do think that a big personality like a Harbaugh, like a Mike North has been throwing around the name Deion Sanders. That's not going to happen.
Deion kind of fizzled out in Colorado, right?
Yeah, he lost about 5 out of 6 straight games or something like that. Yeah, a good start, but the level of talent started to catch up with him. And that's just assuming that he's a good coach. I don't know if he is or not.
By the way, they almost beat the USC Caleb Williams-led Trojans. That's another reason for me to beat that Justin Fields drum a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't see it with Caleb. I don't, because these pundits on NFL Network and ESPN have been wrong so many times before. And it's hilarious at this point. I heard Colin Cowherd from years back talking about Sam Darnold being a much better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. And, well, we see Darnold is on his, third team now.
Third team.
And Lamar is probably the MVP right now.
Omar Barrios says, Aldo, how about Washington going after Ian Cunningham, our assistant GM? Isn't that a liability for us in the draft, since Washington is drafting second overall? Wouldn't he know what our game plan is at that same capacity?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. I got to believe that Poles was aware that this offseason, Ian Cunningham was going to be a hot commodity. He was last year, and he was even offered the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job, but he declined it. And I think that he is probably going to be offered a GM job, and maybe Washington is the place. So I got to believe that Ryan Poles has had some safeguards in place where all of the big, tough decisions are going to be made after this hiring period of coaches and GMs. So that way, Ian has been guarded away from some of what Poles is thinking of doing in the draft. Clearly, they have speculated and thrown out theories and so forth, but I don't think Ian Cunningham knows exactly what Ryan Poles is doing. I got a feeling that Poles is too smart to tell his buddy, and Ian Cunningham, who he knows is going to be a GM in this league, whether it's this year or very soon. I gotta feel he's put some safeguard. If not, then he's a fucking idiot, as my mom would say.
Well, could I read something to you off topic?
Sure.
Since we're both left-wing fucks. I'm not going to give you any opinion. This is a tweet from the Wall Street Journal. Can we agree the Wall Street Journal doesn't lean left?
It's owned by Fox News.
Elon Musk's use of drugs, including LSD, cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, and ketamine, has made some Tesla and SpaceX leaders worry about the potential risk to his companies. The Wall Street Journal. Go ahead.
So are you endorsing Elon Musk for general manager of the Chicago Bears?
Maybe he can star in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas too.
I'd love to see that.
Let's bring back Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro and Elon Musk and put Johnny Depp's character in a Tesla in the future.
There you go.
That's actually not a bad idea.
I know.
That's kind of entertaining.
We rode in a Tesla, remember?
Yes.
We were in Cleveland at the Bears-Browns game. We rode in a Tesla. It was very much like a DeLorean, like on Back to the Future. The fucking doors went open like that. It was pretty cool.
Didn't the guy say he worked for the space program?
Yeah, he tried to tell us he was a space engineer, and I thought, yeah, right. You pull this fucking leg, it plays jingle bells.
It seems like every time I've been in a Tesla, the driver, because I've taken Lyft a couple times, tells me that he's got this aerodynamic background, and that's why I invested in this car and I'm like, really? You work in the aerodynamic industry and now you're driving a Lyft
Me
car?
for $37, right?
Exactly.
6
All right,
miles,
without further delay, there are people in the chat saying, we want Tooch. Just like the Bears fans were crying for Justin Fields at the end of last week's
What
game.
about those signs, by the way, before we bring in the man, the myth, Mr. John Santucci? Did you see the Justin Fields and signs at Hallis Hall?
Oh, yeah. I got a feeling.
And Jalen Johnson, too.
I got a feeling that was Fields' agent. The handwriting was all the same on every sign.
It could have been me, but I was here.
I love it. All right, there he is, Johnny Santucci. Look at how handsome and cute he looks.
What are you guys talking about tonight?
Pussy. No, we're not talking.
Hi, everyone. There you go. The graphic of the year. Oh, dude.
I was afraid to come in here, man. It's like a minefield.
Yeah, I noticed that Stephen Me is been very angry.
We broke Stephen Me, Aldo.
I had nothing to do with that. It was the other guy.
All I did was comment that last week he seemed to be like throwing jabs at me, and I was like, why? I've never been anything but like respectful to the dude, but okay.
I love Stephen Me. He's got very I don't want to say aggressive, but he's opinionated. And so he got back a little bit of, what he's been spewing out there, an aggressive opinionated opinion by Dan Aguirre. Johnny Santucci, say hi to Justin Hicks.
Yeah, hi, Justin.
What's up, Tooch? How are you, man?
Doing well. I'm waiting for you to grab a guitar and maybe do a little Luke Bryan or Chris Stapleton.
Of course. Yes, I do have the accent, unlike Dan, unfortunately.
Wait a minute. That sounds racist. Would you tell a black man, hey, man, you got a great voice. I'm waiting for you to do Luther Vandross.
I love country and Western.
What is it, country and Western? They always say, should it be country and Southern?
It should just be country, as far as
But where's the Western part? Is what I'm saying.
I do take it as a compliment, though, Tooch, because I can't sing to save my life. So thank you. Yes.
Jeez, you talking sounds like you're singing a song, Justin. What are you talking about?
I never get pussy with this voice. I can promise you that. It's just from guys like Tooch that are like, sing me a song.
Let me say very quickly, please don't rub your I can't get laidness on me. Because we're sitting beside each other.
Yeah.
You need to talk to Dan because I think his voice has gotten him laid probably 100, 200 times. Just his voice.
That's what he was telling me on the dating app.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not Zac Efron or Brad Pitt, but what gets the girls to drop their draws? It's the golden pipes. And then they're like, his cock's okay too. But we're wanting to hear Bears State of Affairs from Mr. John Santucci.
That is indeed what we're going to hear. Stand by, I'll roll the open, and then it's all yours, dude.
All right, Bears State of Affairs 2023 NFL season finale, bookend 2. What's happening, Barflies? Well, Bears lost to the Packers in their 2023 season finale, again for the 10th time in a row. The score was 17-9, but the game felt like total domination by the Packers, didn't it? Jordan Love completed a career-high 84% of his passes. Packers were 7 for 10 on third down. Bears defense had hardly any pressure up front. For the most part, the game felt like most of the outcomes we saw from this team in weeks 1 through 9. For the most part, it looked like the Packers take this rivalry a lot more seriously. Last week I said that it somehow always comes down to beating the Packers. And the NFL scheduling committee gave us the Packers in week 1 and again in week 18. It was a perfect way to measure the progress of the Bears in years 2 of the Ryan Poles rebuild. And after a 3-touchdown win at home versus the Falcons, the Bears went up to Lambeau Field full of momentum and laid a big old stinky turd. And we lost 10 games in a row to the Packers now. And man, it really feels like every time we play the Packers, no matter how injured the Packers are, no matter how good the Bears are playing or how bad the Packers are playing, the Packers always get pass rush pressure against us. Their offensive line allows 0 pressure, 0 sacks, and all of their receivers are always wide open, and they convert every third down in critical spots. As Bears fans, we tend to measure the success of the team in any given season to whether or not we beat the Packers. We could lose every other game and finish last in the conference, but if we beat the Packers twice, the season can still be deemed a success. It's downright pitiful. After this final bookend game, the Packers showed us that the Bears do not have a coaching staff good enough to compete with them, and have not since Lovie Smith, who at least was 8-11 versus the Packers. I mean, just look at the game plan the coaching staff had for the final game of the season. You can't, because there wasn't one. We're in the 17th game of the season, and the game plan failed in all phases. We were outgained 432 yards to 192 yards for the game. The Packers had 24 first downs to our 13. It was so bad, I was hoping someone on the Bears was looking for the customer service desk at Lambeau Field so the Bears could return Luke Getsy and maybe get their money back. At the very least, the Bears should have left old Luke in Green Bay. Maybe change the departure time to an hour earlier, not tell him, make it look like he missed the team bus. You know, it might be time to open an investigation into Luke Getsy as an inside job paid and deployed by the Packers in hopes of dismantling and sabotaging the Bears and ruining our first-round quarterback in Justin Fields. We literally didn't throw a pass in the third quarter while trailing. We should have all known better. If you're a longtime Bears fan, you just knew the Bears would shit the bed versus the Packers, and the coaches would get out-coached. We were always going to lose and face an entire offseason of smack talk from Packers fans. I doubt the Bears fire Eberflus, but all the momentum they had heading into this game went right out the window. They looked neutered against the Packers. So where does this leave all of us long-suffering Bears fans? Well, we are about to enter another exciting offseason filled with anxiety, debate, and trepidation, and heartburn, just like every offseason. I don't envy the position that Ryan Poles is in this offseason, or Kevin Warren, or George McCaskey, or ever makes the final decision at this dysfunctional organization. Bears hold the number 1 overall pick for a second straight season. They'll have to decide whether to draft another quarterback with that pick, and thus reset the franchise at the most important position in sports, or trade it to acquire more draft picks. Poles could, in theory, trade the number 1 pick, acquire more picks, and possibly have the number 1 overall pick again next year. They'll also have to decide whether to keep the head coach, whom the GM claims to have personally selected. Although it's becoming more frequent, NFL teams don't usually release head coaches after 2 seasons, and the Bears have only done it 1 time, that being the release of Mark Trestman after only 2 seasons. But it's a win-now NFL, and owners and fans are becoming ever more impatient in this modern NFL. They'll also have to decide what to do with controversial quarterback Justin Fields. They'll need to decide whether to pick up Fields' 2025 fifth-year option before the league deadline of May 2nd. According to Over the Cap, the Bears can expect Fields' fifth-year option to cost them roughly $22 million against the cap in 2025. Regarding Justin Fields, he's a rare athlete, a rare talent. He's an exhilarating playmaker. He's provided more exciting plays in a Bears uniform than damn near anyone I can remember. If you line up his 20 best throws and runs, they're up there with anyone in a Bears uniform. Anyone. It might be that it takes a rare coach, a brilliant offensive mind to coach him and get the most out of him, and the Bears just do not have that. Fields is likely a victim of circumstance. Regarding Matt Eberflus, might be that he needs a veteran quarterback to be successful. Maybe needs a veteran quarterback who only needs minimal coaching. That way he could focus on the defensive side of the ball and work toward building a championship defense. Matt Eberflus, like so many Bears head coaches who are former defensive coordinators, is limited by whoever he has as his offensive coordinator. That might be a disadvantage in what is an offensive-focused modern NFL. Do you trust Matt Eberflus to make a good coaching hire? This is the guy who hired Luke Getsy and Alan Williams, the latter of whom was let go along with Flus's running back coach for alleged personal conduct violations. Now, I don't envy Bears management this offseason. They'll have to decide whether they should start over with a good offensive coach who would inherit an ascending roster and a wealth of picks and the cap space to add more playmakers. They'll have to decide whether to draft a quarterback because they hold the number 1 overall pick, and there's apparently good talent there. They'll have to decide whether to keep a quarterback who has unknown potential but whom they did not draft. Getting the coaching right will mean just as much, if not more, than getting the quarterback decision right this offseason. Whether it's Fields or Caleb Williams or Drake May, you can't give any of them to Eberflus and Getsy. They don't know what to do with quarterbacks. I honestly don't know what the Bears will do with Fields or Eberflus or Getsy. But I'm getting to the point where I don't care whose fault it is. I'm back to wanting everyone gone. The only thing I know for sure is that the Bears are going to Bears. They'll likely keep Eberflus, get rid of Getsy, and I half expect them to announce they're interviewing John Shoup and Dowell Loggins for the vacant offensive coordinator position. There's enough reasons to fire or keep Eberflus. One thing I know for sure is that we're all dreading the possibility that Poles and Eberflus will get to draft and try to develop a rookie quarterback, and the Bears will lose another year or two as the clock is set back yet again. If you're new here, welcome to the Bears cycle of futility, and that is Bears State of Affairs. I'm just sitting here. I might need a signal between Aldo and I so he can roll that. He's usually spot on though, Danny.
I think he's breaking wind. Remember, he said he was having terrible gas tonight.
Caramels. I never heard of who gets gas from caramels.
Oh, he's on mute.
He's on mute again. What happened?
I was farting again.
Those caramels are dangerous in the Gandia household.
Remind me not to buy caramels.
All right. Justin and Dan, any thoughts on what Toots just shared with us?
Go ahead, Justin.
I really like what you had to say about Fields. He is very exciting. Again, I just don't know what I'm wondering what Poles does.
You have something to share?
I'm wondering what Poles does. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know who makes the decisions.
Can you all not hear Justin? He was.
Yeah.
I was just confused. I didn't know what, this is a confusing team though. The franchise does that to me, guys. No, I don't know. I know we're sitting in the catbird seat with that first, and what is it, 9th overall pick? Or 10? Okay. It's 9th now. Okay. So
this is Justin's wet dream, by the way. This motherfucker's been talking about the draft to me since like week 5.
Yeah. I'm a draft whore. Sorry. I love the NFL draft.
That's usually all Bears fans have in the offseason.
Yeah, Dan. See, I'm trying to catch it.
They make your picture. You look like a guy that's going to rape somebody.
He came out from the shadows.
He came out from the shadows, and then he came in her asshole.
So you guys have awesome intro music, and now I hear like Law and Order SVU and my dodom when I come on with my little draft take. Again, I agree with what you said. Getsy, I suppose if he's gonna, or not Getsy, but Eberflus, if they are to keep Eberflus, I think you have to bring a offensive coordinator in, right? Like whoever it is. I really like Joe Brady with the Bills and what he seemed to turn Josh Allen around, but also at LSU, he was a part of that staff when Burrow just went off and won the national championship. And I think, again, if we're not going after a major head coach, maybe that's the route, some kind of spiced up, sexy offensive coordinator. But I really want you guys to keep Fields and hit some home runs in free agency. And these first 2 picks more than anything, because I think that's that's what we're building off of. It's a good young unit, and unfortunately, there were too many of those games, as I mentioned earlier. You played not to win, instead of, not to lose instead of winning. So just a mentality change, and hopefully Poles can make the right choices. And again, Aldo, who was the guy that you mentioned that was going to Washington, the assistant GM? What's his name?
Ian Cunningham.
Cunningham. I was thinking Gresham for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, how sweet would this be? He goes to Washington. They trade every pick in the cupboard for the first pick, and they take Caleb Williams, and that leaves Marvin Harrison Jr. to your right at the number 2 spot.
That would be nice. And in addition, some Bears fans don't know this, is that if Cunningham lands a GM job this season, the Bears get 2 third-round draft picks, one in 2024 and the other in 2025.
We've never had a
please, somebody hire him.
Have we had I don't remember us ever having a compensatory pick.
I'm
always like really
one.
jealous when I see those like extra picks at the end of like the third round. Like, how do they get these? Why can't the Bears have one of those?
Yeah,
they don't have a third round
as many as 9 or 10 extra picks in the 3rd and 4th round for these comp picks.
Poles is in a no-win situation, really.
Why is that?
Because if he trades away Justin Fields, the possibility exists that Fields like finally figures it out and balls out for some other team, maybe the Falcons, whatever. Or he drafts Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams just turns into a bust, or whoever. Drake May, whatever he does, or he keeps Fields. He builds around Fields, and Fields never develops. I mean, it's like he's talking about walking through a minefield. Poles is walking through a minefield too.
Yeah, what Kurt Warner said in the media matchup really stuck with me. He said that typically when 2 close teams are facing one another, it's the team that has the better pocket passer that is going to win generally. And right now, you can't say that Fields is better than any of the other pocket passers in this division, the NFC North. And you can say that Kurt Warner is wrong, that's the way football used to be, but that nowadays, if you know how to employ an athletic quarterback, a quarterback that can get you 100 yards rushing and 200 yards passing, that's a 300-yard day, which is usually the measuring stick for a good day for a quarterback, then you got your guy. And there's no denying that anyone that says Justin is getting better as a pocket passer, I definitely saw some improvement, which is why I've been preaching, get him another guy that he can trust to throw the ball to. We know that he trusts Cole. We know that he trusts DJ Moore, but it was clear he didn't trust anyone else, including Darnell Mooney, the guy who he threw for 1,000 yards a season or 2 ago. He just doesn't trust him anymore. And I have always wondered if Darnell Mooney was running routes consistently well, because I don't think he has, by some of the statements that he has said in press conferences. So like Justin says, you bring in a Marvin Harrison Jr., and now all of a sudden he's got a 6'4" target from his alma mater, Ohio State. There's going to be a bond there, just like he had with DJ. It could be really special. And I feel like we need to see that potentially happen before giving up on Justin. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that we would have a draft pick in 2025 to make up for the fact that we've bypassed a number of quarterbacks, including C.J. Stroud and a number of other quarterbacks who could be really good quarterbacks. This is a draft that's loaded with talent. Wouldn't you say that, Justin, since you're a college football fan? There's some really good quarterbacks coming out.
There's like 5 potential first-round quarterback picks, including Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix of Oregon, who really got it together when he transferred from Auburn to Oregon. And actually Minnesota is very interested in him. Also Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman. Very, very, very athletic freak. And then obviously the top 2 in Caleb Williams and Drake May, who we're hearing more of. But again, a potential of 5 guys. I mean, if they're not in the first round, they'll definitely be going by the second.
So. You got to include JJ in there after last night.
Yeah. I think Jalen Johnson made a lot of money. The cornerback made a lot of money by not playing in that game.
J.J. McCarthy, I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, the Michigan. Yeah, the Michigan kid. Probably. He's
LaGrange,
like
Illinois, local kid.
Yeah, that's right.
But that Aldo mentioned Jalen Johnson. I was thinking that too, because for years we always heard, you know what? The Bears are signing too many free agents. That's not the path to win the Super Bowl. You have to draft well and win with your draft picks. Well, we got 2 draft picks we're talking about just moving or not re-signing. Jalen Johnson, what was he, a second-round pick? Right? Yes. And Justin Fields, we traded up to get him, 11th pick in the draft, 2021. And so that's our homegrown picks. That's what we were told for years that we have to win the Super Bowl, and we're just moving on.
It wasn't Pole's pick, but from all we've heard, he likes the kid,
Yeah, but that Tuch makes a good point. The fact that he didn't draft Justin Fields, perhaps dents the loyalty he might have had, unlike, like a Darnell Wright or guys that he's drafted that he's going to give Velus Jones would have been cut by most teams. The only reason he's still on the roster is because that was the first time Ryan Poles had a 3rd-round draft pick, and he picked that guy.
Give Velus some credit. By the end of the year, he was doing pretty well returning kicks, though. I myself have been down on Velus too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to just be disagree with you just because. But he was running. He was taking some kicks out like Cordero Patterson would have, like from deep in the end zone. Maybe he wasn't getting to like the 35 or 40, but he was being aggressive toward the end of the year, which I liked. So there's a spot for him as a kick returner, not a punt returner, as a kick returner.
What do you guys think about him as a running back? He's shown a little bit of promise handling the ball out of the backfield and picking up some yards. He doesn't have quite the body that you want for a running back. But if you told him, hey, we want you to come to camp next year and compete for a running back position, he could spend the offseason adding the muscle necessary.
Like Patterson, who was a wide receiver that got moved to tailback at various times. But at least with this staff, fucking Getsy just runs that jet sweep with him. It's just every time he's in, you know what play's coming. Like, they don't really try other plays with him,
Steve, he's so pissed off at us. He says, keep Velus, play him at quarter. You fucker. Steve, you're a fucker. You're funny, but you're a fucker.
I don't understand. Again, I said this in the private group. What is this? Like, why is he suddenly mad at me? I don't, not that I overly worry about it, but I just don't understand where any of this is coming from. Is it like a gimmick to get him on the show, or
maybe he's a guy that carries a grudge?
Okay, fine.
Is his last name Austin? Is it Steve Austin?
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
He's playing. He's hill mode. Hill mode.
Justin's photo with the ears, he looks like the T-1000 from Terminator 2.
Earlier that broadcast, I did my first, I guess, basketball production, Dan. I get kind of
producing.
Yeah, producing. The guy, we won't get into that, but he sounded like the Terminator. Like it was cutting in and out. It was terrible.
Aldo, you know who he should put as his picture? He's his favorite basketball player ever, Patrick Ewing.
That's my guy.
Oh, really?
Yes, love Pat. Love Pat. I was listening to a podcast up here about college basketball, but especially college, these young kids who are way smarter than I get into the advanced metrics, and they just talk nonsense that I can't even keep up with. It's like a geek game now, unfortunately, again, in the collegiate level. And they were talking about how good and happy Georgetown fans should be because Patrick Ewing is no longer there. And I was like, really? Like, he didn't win a national championship as a player. And what was it, 84?
Patrick Ewing did win. He beat Houston. He beat Olajuwon.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, he
was the coach of Georgetown.
Yeah, they hated him as a coach, but I still love him no matter what. I was so mad at that. I was like, hey, he won as a player. He's the greatest player you guys have ever had. I don't care what they say.
What about AI?
Dan, don't get me started. Come on.
Let's talk Bears.
Did AI not play football though? I think he played like high school football where Michael Vick did.
Patrick
No, Allen Iverson. No, not Ewing. That would have been, amazing.
Iverson's from Virginia somewhere, I think. Right?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about Morgantown's own Bob Huggins? A little controversy. Speaking of basketball head coaches, college basketball coaches. Huggy Bear's gone now.
Okay. Aldo, you mentioned this earlier with Ian Cunningham, right?
Right.
The Washington seems to be pulling guys in, like they have Bob Myers, Bob Myers, who helped build the Warriors dynasty with. Well, they already had those guys, but he got like the younger Kuminga and Kevon Looney, and they're in search of the next head coach for the Washington Football Commanders. I guess they're going to keep that name. I don't know. Yeah. So I lost track where I was going with that. But what did you say last time out? Huggins. Huggins. What about Huggins to the Bears as a special counsel? Huh?
Keep him away from the bar. Keep him away from the bar.
He would die within a week, I feel like.
I think you're right.
He's all about defense, though.
Yep.
Yeah. Thoughts on Jalen Johnson signing him? Dan has expressed his thought. Tooch, your thoughts?
After watching Terrell Smith play, I say we don't have a choice. I'm just saying. Yeah, I would love to see him back. I don't think he'd be that expensive. We don't have money to sign him, but I mean, you see people in the chat room talking about what do you call it? Getting signing a free agent defensive end. That's committing a lot of money to one position, and then you probably wouldn't have a chance to sign Jalen Johnson. Depends on what they're going to do at defensive end, really, at edge.
Yeah, I think you have to draft a defensive end. I think the plan is you trade that number 1 pick. You try to acquire 3 first-round picks this season. Arizona Cardinals would be great trading partners for that because they've got a second pick based on their trade, their first-round trade from last year. I forgot who they traded, but they have 2 first-round picks just like the Bears. I'd love to get those 2 first-round picks in exchange for our number 1 overall. And then you draft a defensive end. You draft one of these hot-shot wide receivers that's coming out, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, and the defensive end could be the kid from UCLA if his medicals work out. And then you got that 3rd pick, and you could draft a quarterback if you have fallen in love with him during this process that's leading up to the draft, or draft an offensive lineman because you're not totally satisfied with Braxton Johnson, or we need interior help because of Tevin's injuries and Nate Davis' inconsistent play, or you draft a cornerback because you're not signing Jalen Johnson. So those are the options that he has. But I think it would be wise for him to sign Jalen Johnson, draft a defensive end. That way you manage the cap better, and then that defensive end helps to provide immediate help, but could be the heir apparent to Montez Sweat. Hopefully when Montez is ready to go, this first-round draft pick defensive end like Latu from UCLA could be notching 12, 15 sacks, and now you've got a successor, and you go through the plan again. You got to pay Latu his big contract, and you draft another defensive end. That's the formula Ryan Poe should work, but it all depends on whether you trade Justin Fields and acquire this additional draft capital, or you keep that, get that additional draft capital, or Justin Fields is gone. So
the decision's due after the draft, though. If I'm correct, the decision on whether to pick up his 5th-year option is May 2nd. So by that time, the draft will be over.
Well, that is true. So I think that actually helps. You don't have to worry about the picking up that 5th-year option for $20-some million until you know what the quarterback situation is definitely. But I got a feeling that whatever they're going to do,
it'll be the wrong decision.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Whatever they do, it'll be the wrong decision.
You beat me to the punchline.
I do like that, Aldo, because that leaves a lot of doors open. As you mentioned, the kid from UCLA is highly touted. I think, is he the top defender in the draft? Maybe.
Well, some people have Jared Verse, some people have Dallas Turner, some people have Chop Robinson, and the other guy is Braylon Trice. For me, it's undoubtedly the kid from UCLA, Latu. The problem is that he had neck and shoulder issues, and so his medicals have to check out. But he played all season, so that's a good sign.
He's the type of end that the Bears like, the bigger. You know, Jared Verse is like, bigger physically, like built like more like Montez Sweat, and the Eberflus system. If we're gonna go ahead and keep Flus, the edge kind of edge rusher he likes are the bigger edge rusher that collapses the pocket, not the guy who's gonna with speed rush bend the edge.
Mm-hmm.
What Aldo mentioned is, and me and Dan have talked about this before, the horrible movie Draft Day that Kevin Costner was in. This is, but he did get 2 or 3 first rounders, and he was able to keep his quarterback. That's the scenario that our very own Aldo just mentioned, and I like that. If you want a quarterback, then okay, you have a later round pick to get that. If it's Michael Penix, it could be Jaden Daniels. Nobody's really talking about him much. I know some mocks have him going in like 5th, but I don't think they know what the hell they're talking about until the time comes. So
in the 5th round?
No, sorry, the 5th pick. But
the 5th quarterback taken.
Yeah. No, 5th overall, right?
5th overall. Yeah, 5th. Okay. But when I first seen it, and this was right after his Heisman, right after he won the Heisman, so just a few weeks back, he was like 18, anywhere between 18 to like 26, and that left guys like JJ, like you mentioned earlier, JJ and Bo I think Bo was a later first round
Jordan
pick. But
Travis is another good player.
Yeah, he's actually like 3rd, 4th, 5th with that injury, somewhere like that. Injury. Yes, terrible. But there's some value in these later round guys where you could roll with Fields and stock your line or your roster, not your but.
He says we'll draft Spencer Rattler number 1.
God, I hope not. But, I mean, it could happen. I really like that idea.
The Bears are in. They have to decide without enough evidence. And arguably, look, the context counts here. I'm gonna say you can argue with barflies in the chat room, but context counts. In the situation of Justin Fields. Okay. Imagine being drafted by a head coach that's so bad he's fired after your rookie year. The coach that drafted you, Matt Nagy, he was so bad he's fired. So you come into a situation, the coach that drafted you's gone, we're blowing this all up. Then you're brought into a new regime, a new GM, the first time play calling, incompetent offensive coordinator for your first season, and you hardly progress. He's injured, he's had his injury problems, and then. If the team drafts a quarterback in the same situation, they may call him a bust because if the team wins, it's good quarterback play. And if they lose, it's bad quarterback play. That's what Justin Fields has been in, man. Mm-hmm. The dude's a victim of circumstance, whether you like him or not. He's controversial. Other fans say he can't do anything. He hasn't had good coaching. Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. By the way, Omar Barrios is celebrating his birthday on Thursday, and he'd like us all to say bear fucking down for his birthday.
Yeah,
so here it goes. 3, 2, 1. Fuck you. No, just kidding, Omar. Omar is the best, man.
And they have idiots like Ronald McDonald. We're not making excuses. Facts are facts, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation the kid was put in.
Oh God, Tooch went off on this guy like a month ago.
He's a clown. He's a clown. He hides behind his wife and daughter's avatar.
You're right.
It is a woman. It might be a woman.
You're right about that. Look, okay, here's a perfect example. My dad is a huge Baker Mayfield fan, right? Okay. Still to this day, it was the first great quarterback that he got to see in college at WVU. Or playing against WVU, sorry. Mm-hmm. This man played for the Browns, went through, I think, 3 or 4 different systems just in Cleveland, then goes to, I think, Carolina, and then LA, and now Tampa Bay. So he's on his 3rd team and like 6th overall system. And I'm not saying he's flourishing, but they're in the playoffs. They did well. So Fields, how many systems has he had now? How many just offensive coordinators has he had? 2 in a 3-year time span?
Matt Nagy and Luke Getsy.
You know, you got
setting the world on fire with those names, Justin.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. So people really need to take that into consideration when we're talking about a Mahomes. He was able to sit behind Alex Smith, who was great, by the way, with his tutelage and mentoring for Pat. And we knew before. I mean, if you watch the draft, everybody knew going into that Andy Reid had the biggest hard on for Mahomes for a reason, and he got him. So he's still there. He's still in this system, and it's interchangeable. You could put anybody in there as his offensive coordinator. As long as Reed's there, he's fine.
Yep.
You can't say that about Fields, not yet, because we don't have that coach or staff or anybody backing this guy that's going to set the world on fire, like you said. Getsy hasn't done that. He's almost got killed last Sunday. How many sacks did he take? 5?
5, yeah.
5. So
now we're finally getting to the psychological issue that Stephen Me has.
Why the hostility to
there's your arch nemesis.
Here
Dan.
it is. Here it is, Danny. This is why he's pissed.
You're going to have to read that to me, Dan. I can't see from here.
He says, why are we hostile to every Bears fan that's done with Fields? We're not. We're trying to.
Who is hostile to him? Somebody, please. This is not rhetorical. Have I not said every time I've defended Fields, like everyone else's opinion is valid? That's not bullshit or conjecture. Like I said, I've said that. I mean, that's not me just kissing ass. I mean, I feel like I'm no better than anybody else. And I have said that. I've never once come out after this guy and said his opinion is wrong or he's a clown, or I've taken no shots at him.
I disagree. You're clearly better than Steve.
Just fucking it's so annoying when like this lie keeps getting said. What are we on Fox News right now? What the fuck? He can just make shit up because he wants to. Hey Steve, you know what you should do? Just block me. Fuck you, man. I've never done anything to you. I've been polite to you the whole time. You don't like me? Suck my fucking dick, Stephen Me.
Oh my God, damn.
I'm sick of his fucking childish shit. Fuck you, man.
And it's confirmed. Stephen
He
Me.
wanted me to be an asshole to him. I am now. I'm being an asshole to him, and I still don't care if you don't want Justin Fields. I've been respectful to other people's opinions.
It's confirmed. Stephen Me is going on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Well done.
We're not hostile to Bears fans who want Fields gone. We just think that you don't care about the context. The coaches fucking suck. They can't develop a quarterback. Whether or not Justin Fields could be developed by someone like Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan, we don't know. We'll never have that evidence. So if we move on from Fields, I'm still going to be a Bears fan.
Right.
If the Bears don't draft Caleb Williams, people like Ronald McDonald and whoever else the fuck, they can go and be fans of wherever Caleb Williams is drafted to.
I've never shouted at Steven until now. So he's putting that shit on there again, which again is more propagated myths. And to back up what Tooch said, in 1989, I was like, should I be a Chargers fan now when Jim McMahon was traded? And my dad, who was not that big of a football fan, told me, no, you have to stay with your team. So, again, for 30 years, I've stayed with my team, even if Justin's
Aldo
gone.
and I have stayed with our team for 50-plus years. What the fuck is wrong with us?
1968, man. I started watching.
1974 for me.
Fuck. Justin and Dan weren't even fucking embryos back then.
Oh, come on, man. Like, I've been a Bears fan almost 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah, but you weren't alive watching them on CBS.
Yeah, but I'm not some Johnny come lately, though. Like, oh, he become a fan in 2000. You know?
Now he's getting mad at me.
I'm not mad. I love you, Aldo.
I love you, too.
In fact, I've been missing you during the week. We haven't had any movie talks or something. I text you. You don't see it.
I know. What?
Can I answer this?
Please.
We can still draft a fucking quarterback and keep Fields.
Thank you, Tooch. I was going to say, if you take Caleb Williams, okay, why not sign Fields anyway, right? Just to see what happens. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
who knows?
You may not be able to sign him to a 5th year, but you can make him play his 4th year contract.
Yeah, he can play that for it. That's what I meant. Sorry, the 4th year. It's not a end all be all. People are looking at this situation
That's
all
called
wrong.
hedge-
It
that's
seems.
called hedging your bets, Steven. You know?
No,
Yeah,
we could
exactly.
even
Exactly.
trade back and take Jalen Daniels or J.J. McCarthy and still get, Leo Talu, whatever, and Marvin Harrison, or you could get Malik Neighbors later.
Yep.
The best route runner in the draft.
You got to remember, just real quickly, you got to remember the 49ers are in the playoffs. Their quarterback was a 7th-round draft pick.
There you
Cowboys
go. Perfect.
are in the playoffs. Their quarterback was a 4th-round draft pick, and I
If
can
he
go
would have
on.
came out a year earlier from Iowa State, he
Mm-hmm.
likely would have been a 2nd, maybe 1st-round pick. Brock Purdy.
Right.
I'm just saying, he stayed an extra year. He fell all the way to because they didn't have the talent. He wanted to stay. It was a bad decision, but hey, it worked out in the end.
My point is that good coaching, and I think the Bears proved that, with the signing of free agent Tyson Bagent, he didn't, turn the world on fire, but no one really expected a Division II quarterback to helm the Chicago Bears quarterback position and be outstanding. But he got us 2 victories. 2 losses in his 4 starts. And what I'm trying to say is there are gems to be found.
Mike going, Aldo. Gypsy Mike's gonna come in here and tell us what we should build around Tyson Bagent.
I know.
If I could quickly respond to PJ, I feel the same way, sir. I know he was only in Miami once, 1 year, but I rooted for Cutler when he was with the Dolphins. I rooted for McMahon when he bounced around Minnesota, Philly, San Diego. So yeah, I'll be rooting for Fields if he's unless he's with like Green Bay, Minnesota, or Detroit, then I can't root for him. But all things equal, if he's not here, I still want him to do extremely well.
I think J.J. McCarthy will be a fine pro. That's just me. He makes the right decision with the ball. He can make all the throws. He can buy time in the pocket. He's got mobility. He can escape. Smart quarterback. I mean, if you're looking for brains, man, he might be the smartest quarterback in this draft.
I think that
Drake May might need a little more seasoning. Caleb Williams has got the arm, but he's a diva. I mean, look, Caleb Williams got a hell of an arm, man. He might be.
Oh my gosh,
his arm is almost as good as Patrick Mahomes. That release is quick, man. It's effortless flick. I love it. But I mean, his backup came in and threw 6 touchdowns in his first start. Maybe we should look at his backup too.
A product of the system.
The system makes quarterbacks.
And if you look at Lincoln Riley, who is not exactly, again, talking college, like the last 4 or 5 quarterbacks he's had are current NFL quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. There is someone in the middle that I cannot think of, but he's got a few. Maybe it's just those 2. I don't know. It's someone else. And the kid that he has now is a great prospect. At Oklahoma.
What the hell's that guy's name?
Blake something. Blake. But that was the Oklahoma quarterback.
Gotcha. When you said Blake, it made me think of that Stern bit where Robin Quivers was like, Blank Willow. Blank
Pussy Willow.
So funny.
That Lincoln Riley and those guys, Mike Leach and Cliff Kingsbury, those guys are all the air raid coaches.
Yeah.
Mike Leach, that's his system.
Mm-hmm.
Ran it at Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, all those colleges had the air raid quarterbacks.
Yeah.
USC now with Lincoln Riley. But the system made a bunch of quarterbacks get NFL looks.
Yeah, you're right. Mississippi State, the kid just transferred to, I think, Washington. Rogers, I believe, is his last name. I know that's not a great name to say on this podcast, but yeah, he would be another one in the mix if he had came out this year. Maybe the 4th or 5th best quarterback available. Who knows? But like you said, Tooch, I love that. You can still, you can take Caleb and keep Fields, essentially. Yeah. So that makes everyone miserable, all in one setting.
Brad Biggs, who covers the Chicago Bears for the Chicago Tribune, said that he thinks that if the Bears were to take that approach, draft a quarterback like a Caleb Williams or a Drake May, one of the top quarterbacks, and basically redshirt him his first year, that Justin's team would say, fuck this, trade us, get us out of here. We want to start. We know that this guy's going to take our place. We don't want to be that bench warmer. We don't want to be that bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Justin would do that, but maybe.
It's a great point because there's a contingent of folks in the locker room who are in the corner of Justin Fields. They love him. You know, they believe in the kid. And there's a bunch of them that love Matt Eberflus too, you know. So whatever decision they make, I mean, it might be based on how popular these two guys are in the locker room, you know, whether we keep Eberflus, you know, which is why I think probably they'll default to the making Getsy the scapegoat, you know, and then bring in someone like Jim Caldwell, who Eberflus worked with in the past.
Jim Caldwell's got to be 79 years old, though.
I don't know.
Why don't we bring in Morgan Freeman?
He does have the voice.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, Jim Caldwell's like 5 years younger than Ditka, I swear.
That's I don't know how old he is. 68. He looks good for 68, though, Aldo.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
And still one of America's greatest actors.
Frank Reich is another name that worked with Eberflus in Indianapolis.
I'd love to see somebody like a Christopher Walken
who also looks like he's about 90 now, unfortunately.
I've been trying to practice a Christopher Walken accent. I actually asked Dan, do you do any, not accents, impressions? Because I have this skit in mind where Christopher Walken is the general manager and he's interviewing potential candidates for the.
Are we on a boat? That's the question. There was a murder, allegedly. If you don't know about it.
Watch your step, Natalie.
Yeah. What a beautiful fucking woman who may or may not have died on a boat because of Christopher Walken or the guy that played number 2 on Austin Powers. What was his name?
Robert Wagner.
Robert Wagner. Yeah. Number 2. Yeah. Go ahead, Aldo. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I can't do the Walken accent, so I've written a few ideas for what the script would look like. But so imagine, Walken doing, son of a bitch. We have a great organization here. I can't do the accent, so it's not funny. But the whole idea of having like a Morgan Freeman interviewing coaches, or Christopher Walken interviewing coaches, or some recognizable celebrity voice. Tooch, I know you know somebody who does celebrity.
Wait, before Tooch responds, you remember True Romance?
Yes.
I want. Dennis Hopper was tied up. And Christopher Walken, I want Lou Getsy tied up in the chair. And Christopher Walken comes out and starts talking like you said. But go ahead, Tooch.
That Tarantino dialogue in that scene is.
We can't repeat it, though. We cannot repeat it.
The Sicilians are known as. Yeah, we're not going to go there. Go ahead,
classic. Tooch. It's a classic. Celebrity voices.
Yes. Did you have a friend that did like a celebrity voices?
Did the impersonations and stuff?
Yeah.
My buddy Brian. Yeah.
Ask Brian to give me a call. I'd love to work with him.
I will. He's a hermit. I will venture out to his cave and see if he'll come out.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue to any movies that you guys have seen that you want to share with the group. True Romance is indeed a classic, kids.
Oh, yeah.
It is a one that repeated viewings are necessary because
absolutely
it's so fucking good. It is really good. Great acting and great direction.
I don't think I've seen True Romance.
Oh man,
I'm gonna have
fucking
to watch.
Great.
I do talk to Dan about movie suggestions, and I watched Killers of the Flower Moon this past week, and it was great. It was a lot better than I had.
I still haven't made it through that movie all the way.
It was really, really good. I enjoyed it, which Scorsese's going to knock it out each and every time, but
yes,
the cast was great. Just a really good movie for today. To watch today.
Did it feel like it was 4 hours long, Justin?
No, it really didn't. Like
it did to me.
At times,
multiple times.
I paused it once and I was like, is this really like 3 hours and 28 minutes right now or something? Whatever it was. I said, I guess so.
What do I know, though? I loved Wonka. That was my that was a classic.
It's not bad. I need to watch Killer Moons because a movie of that length, I will need to pause and masturbate a couple of times.
Yeah, and there's some scenes where you do that in, right? There's some scenes where you have to do that.
That's what I've heard.
Leo's dreamy in it.
You need to go grocery shopping before this, so you can have plenty of supplies while you're locked in watching this million-hour-long, month-long film.
I don't know why people are hating on the length of the movie. I thought it was necessary. I thought it was good.
Oh yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I saw a movie with De Niro directed by a guy named Bernardo Bertolucci, and it was 6 hours long.
Fuck, what was that?
Yeah, it's called 1900, or is it 1800? It was a long time ago. I was in college at the time.
1900, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 1900, right?
Is it De Niro in that too?
De Niro was in that, yes, and it's a really good movie. But man, it was difficult to get through. I wish I would have brought a pillow. I would have been a little more comfortable.
I've seen a bunch of shit this week, but go ahead, Aldo. I didn't mean to step on.
No, I was just gonna say that here's something that we could all agree on with Steve Mee is he says True Romance. Patricia Arquette was so fucking hot in that movie, and she was.
Alabama Whirly.
Oh yeah.
Alabama, that's right, no name. What have you seen, Tooch?
I've been watching this TV show called From. I like it's on MGM. Yeah, really good. I'm almost to the last part of season 2. I think that's the last episode, so I'll be after. And I don't know. I'll need something after that, but enjoying it, man. It's really good.
Cool. Aguirre, you got anything you want?
Yeah. I've been reading that TMC Underground book. I saw it at your house, and I bought it myself.
Oh, cool.
So I've watched some of these underground films this week. I'll throw some at you. One featured, I don't know if it was his first film, but he was listed as William Paxton. One Bill Paxton, and a very insignificant character from 1981. The film's called Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker.
Oh, I love the title.
So yeah, this guy's raised by his aunt. And it turns out she doesn't want him to get a scholarship and go on and becomes one of these people that make you sick so they can take care of you. And she has all these incestuous desires for him, and then a bunch of murder starts happening too because she just wants him to stay there with her. And he was fucking his girlfriend, so she's like, "You're a slut," and she hates the other girl for fucking him, and she wants to fuck him. So
So he got the inheritance, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, I don't want to spoil it, but another one that was really wild, and it featured a woman fucking a monster. But there's all this debate whether or not the monster was some deep analytical projection of her guilt and not really a monster. But the film was called Possession. I think it shows as 83, but it was filmed in 81. Yeah, but it's really cool. This guy, they're having all these incredible fights. They're so realistic, you'd be thinking this is a real couple about to divorce in front of our eyes. It's uncomfortable how realistic it is. And then the second half of the film, it's a horror movie. And she's been fucking this other guy, but she hasn't been with the other guy either for a while. So they're arguing who's got the girl. And in the end, she's actually fucking a monster. And it shows it. I sent you that scene actually via text, Aldo.
Yes,
I said, quote, "In this movie, dude finds out his wife is getting it from a monster." And it was quite shocking.
Yeah. The picture you sent was, let's see if I can share it with people. The picture you sent was, I said immediately, I need to watch this.
You do. It was, but again, if you read the themes,
I saw this movie years ago.
If you read the themes on it, it's something that would be really good for a college course. But because there's so much debate on whether or not the monster is even real.
Let me see here.
So she's Anna Nicole Smith, essentially, right?
Possession. That's the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the scene. The guy's about to walk in and find it now. I don't know if can you turn up the volume on your phone?
No.
The actress's name is Isabella Johnny. Is that?
That I don't know, but the monster is really giving it to her right there.
That's Sam O'Neill from the Jurassic
Park. That's what I was thinking. Sam Neill. Yeah. There's the monster. Oh yeah.
Jeez, the monster looks like a big phallic symbol.
Yeah, and then it turns into like a Twin Peaks like doppelganger. What's that word again? Where you have an exact match?
Doppelganger.
Yeah, she makes the monster into her husband. And ironically, the husband finds a woman earlier in the film that looks like his wife, who's played by both actors. The actress plays both of them. So there's a lot of depth into that too. A dive in of like maybe neither character is real. Maybe they were both just hoping to get the qualities that they couldn't get in their unsatisfied marriage. Again, it's a college level paper, man. But yeah, it's a really good movie. I dug it, man. And there's one more I'll tell you about, and I didn't finish it because I got tired. But Aldo, you'll like this. So it's from 1968. You got Elizabeth Taylor and a very young Mia Farrow. And she's on like a subway or whatever they call it in England, the underground fucking thing. And Mia Farrow thinks that it's her mother. And she keeps saying, "Mommy, Mommy." And she's a grown woman, by the way. She thinks Liz Taylor's her mom. And eventually takes her back to the house and thinks it's her mom. But ironically, Elizabeth Taylor's character looked at her earlier and thought that was her daughter that had passed away. So you got this dynamic of this mistaken identity. But there's one part apparently where Elizabeth Taylor like sexually licks Mia Farrow's back. So I'm not really sure where this is going, but I didn't get to see it all. But it's from 68. It's called Secret something. I forget. It's from, you can look it up, but I recommend that.
Secret Ceremony.
Yeah, there you go. Secret Ceremony. I've got to finish it. And the last one I watched this week, it was so bizarre. It was a David Cronenberg film, but man, it was all over the place. I'm not sure if I liked it or hated it, called Naked Lunch. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of it. Always wanted to see it.
It's on HBO Max right now. It is just, oh my God. It's like Fear and Loathing. I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but this is like Fear and Loathing if it wasn't entertaining. It's just, I don't like it. I mean, it was okay. It was okay.
Justin, you seen anything you like other than Scorsese film?
I did finish True Detective, the first season.
Season 4 starts on Sunday, everybody.
Sunday.
This Sunday.
To say that. Yep.
Yeah. And whoa, who's
this is just what I've been watching recently because I went down a rabbit hole.
I thought you hacked my phone for a minute.
I went down a rabbit hole, and all of a sudden, YouTube is
what the
algorithms are sending me all of these videos of women who are heavily endowed, and so I thought I'd share it with you guys.
How does she stand up?
Is she single?
Oh my goodness!
Wish I could make a monster out of
She is from Poland, but I'm sure.
Does she need a green card? I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Justin. I interrupted you.
Oh no! Just True Detective. Please interrupt again with the lady from Poland anytime.
I will do that.
I enjoyed all the seasons of True Detective, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I love season 2. That's the one everyone hates. I love
season 2.
I like that one too. Yeah.
Season 2, I'll be starting. I guess maybe Friday.
I've made this point on this show before, but it's worth. I mean, think about it. So John Hinckley Jr. shot Ronald Reagan because he wanted to impress Jodie Foster. We all know that. It happened in 1981. Somehow they let this fucker out. I'm sorry. I know that I'm not a fan of Ronald Reagan. Who gives a fuck? He shot him. Like, why is this guy free? So he's free. Jodie Foster's leading True Detective season 4 Sunday. Could it happen again? Could Hinckley be watching it and fall in love with Jodie Foster again? That's the question. And do something stupid.
That would be wild. That would be very wild.
Well, how old was Foster at that time?
He was in love with her from Taxi Driver, but still, how old is Hinckley now? I mean, he might be looking at her thinking she's aged well. I mean, this will really impress her.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because we have Swifties out there now, and like Hannah Montana, is she still relevant? I don't know.
Miley Cyrus, yeah.
So maybe maybe he's
moved on.
He's moved on. Yeah.
Right.
But you're right. That's a great point. It's a
scary point. I think if I'm Jodie, like, man, but make sure this fucker stays away.
The first season was great too. So if I'm John Hinckley, I'm watching, which I'm Justin Hickson. I'm going to be watching.
If you all don't know, this guy is performing. Like, you can buy Ticketmaster tickets to John Hinckley. He says he wants to open for the Black Keys and the Foo Fighters. I can't imagine Dave Grohl saying, the guy that shot the fucking president, he's opening for me.
Yeah, give it up.
But I've got a weird one for you. I got tickets for Limp Bizkit in the summer, and you know who's opening? Corey fucking Feldman.
Are you serious?
Corey Feldman is the opening act.
Man,
what's he gonna do?
He made a movie.
He sings now. I don't know.
He made a movie that was all about how Hollywood raped him and Corey Haim. And it's a cabal of pedophiles.
Yeah.
Do you remember the?
blacklisted.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say he's been blacklisted, so it's interesting that he's going to be performing somewhere. Go ahead, Justin.
Do you guys remember that reality show that the Coreys did together a few years back on A&E?
Yeah.
And he was the normal of the two. He was like the scariest thing that I could think of.
I think Corey took it from Michael Jackson. I think that's what fucked him up.
Dead, right?
Yeah, Corey Haim's dead.
Yeah.
I think Feldman got it from Michael Jackson, though.
J2K has actually met Corey Feldman a few times. Are you okay, J2K? I just want to make sure you weren't harmed in any way. All right, guys. I want to try to get out of here at exactly 10:30 or so. So let's go around the table.
Snow?
Tons of it, and
Yeah,
it's
so
still
did
coming
we.
down. Yeah. Tons of it. I heard Iowa is in the midst of a snowstorm that might affect the caucuses next
Got
Monday.
about
So
6-7 inches.
are you going to go out and caucus next Monday, Tooch?
Hell no. I barely leave my home when it snows out.
All right, let's go around the table and do some shout outs. Any last words that you want? Start as we're listed on the screen from left to right. Dan Aguirre, go ahead.
Want to shout out Justin, my guy here. I'm glad I didn't.
Right.
I'm glad you let him on the whole time. I didn't know how you would take it, so I just went. I was like, well, I could ask for forgiveness later as opposed for permission first. So I was hoping to get him on. Man, he's good. He loves sports, and like he could fit in well. So I'm not trying to say I'll bring him on the show often, but I just want him to introduce you to him. That's all. So I've had a fucked up, terrible day, as Justin knows, here at the station. So this show made me smile and laugh in spite of how bad the day was. So I thank all of you, Tooch, yourself, Aldo, all of you. It was a really good time. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Justin, what do you got for us?
Yeah, just kind of backing what Dan said. I want to thank Dan, obviously, for everything. There's too much to think of for tonight. If you want to get out of here at 10 or 11:30 airtime, 10:30 Central. But thank you guys. Thanks, Tooch, for coming on. It's great talking to you, Aldo. I'm a big fan of the show. I got into it watching or with Dan's recommendation, of course, on Twitter, and I try to tune in as frequently as possible. But thank you 10,000 times over for having me on tonight. This was very much fun.
Well, you're welcome anytime, Justin. And Dan's actually mentioned me to you a few times, and so that you've got an open invitation, free drinks at the bar room.
Okay, I like scotch and water. Hold the scotch.
All right.
We got you covered. Scotch or water?
Whiskey
Old
man.
scotch. Tooch, what do you got?
Yeah, that was great hanging out with Justin. Thanks for coming on. Love the voice. Like Dan. It's like having two Dan Aguirres in
How about it?
in the bar room tonight, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
And we do a show together. So how about that?
Yeah, the fifth
I've
quarter.
heard- I'm telling you, you need to put those somewhere where the public can hear those, because you guys do a great job on that football highlight show.
One of my favorite pubs over here in Van Meter, Iowa, the fifth quarter. Great wings, bar food. You can watch all the games there. A little shout out to one of my favorite pubs around here.
Nice.
And Friday night we'll be doing some NFL playoff picks with Sean and Anthony. Weekend sports betting tips, and shout out to the caustic chat room tonight. Man, hopefully everybody can pick themselves up after this one, put themselves back together. Aldo.
I really appreciate all the different voices in the chat room. We're always going to argue. We're always going to agree on certain things and disagree on certain things. So that's all good. Go ahead, Teach.
Yep. Whether or not they keep Justin Fields or not, we'll still all be Bears fans. The fact is, I think people like myself and Aldo and Dan, we're not really defending Justin Fields, it's like we don't know what we have because he hasn't had coaching to show us what he has. People are like, oh, this and that and this. He has had no offensive line his second year. He had Matt Nagy, he had Luke Getsy. I'm sorry, I can't make a judgment on the kid because if he was with Kyle Shanahan, we all might be saying different. If he was with Andy Reid, we might be saying, man, I wish we had Justin Fields, or whatever. And it doesn't matter because the Bears have a decision to make with that number 1 overall pick. If we didn't have the number 1 overall pick, although we would say, well, we have to keep Justin Fields because we don't have a chance to get a quarterback.
Without a doubt.
So the only reason we're talking about is because the Bears hold the number 1 overall pick. They got to decide whether or not they're going to take what a lot of people seem to think is a surefire thing, and history shows it's not a surefire thing. So that's all I got to say on the matter. I'll root for whoever's in a Bears uniform, like Dan Aguirre.
Hey, well, guys, I got to piss. So I'm saying bye. I want to hear all those shout outs, but my bladder tells me I can't.
I'm going to do it in 5 seconds. Watch Buffon 55 tomorrow at 7:30. My video is going to look back at the entire Chicago Bears season. So that's one of the reasons I want to get out of here early because I got a lot of work to do.
Yep.
And Mac and Reed at 6 p.m. And then before that, Bardon Talking Hockey.
I sent you a couple videos, Aldo. And one of them was like play like it was Baldinger. He's like, where's he going to go with the ball? There's 3. Getsy's play design had 3 guys all within 5 yards of each other.
That was
all
great.
Right, and they were all covered. Four guys covering 3 guys in a 5-yard zone.
Brian Baldinger is definitely a Justin Fields fan. There's no doubt about it.
What's Fields supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
The play calling.
Chase Daniel is too, by the way.
Chase Daniel in a huge way.
Yeah.
Chase Daniel knows his football.
Well, guys, I got to go. I got to pee so badly. So I'll see you later.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Talk
Bye,
to you.
guys.